Hello, how are you? You need Bowie Jane for BB26? Look, now that Spoiler Girl's out of the game, I might have to step in, and I've got good news for you. Thanks, AZ Cubs. I appreciate you. First of all, I wouldn't be Spoiler Girl, I'd be Spoiler Boy. Thanks, Nathan, for the gift. Happy birthday. Spoiler King used to have actual spoilers, is that right? You love to hear it. Lila ghosting my DMs, by the way. Kidding. Thanks, Brenna. How do you spoil a show that's live? It's like you spoil it like a day in advance, you know what I mean? Like you spoil the cast beforehand, and then like feeds are off for a veto comp, and they get the results before It's pretty crazy. But Big Brother fans want the information now. Nice to know. Thanks for the prime. You love your days off? Yeah. Oh shit, Lila, you're right. Let's take a moment actually to talk about this because Lila, I was thinking of doing a stream soon about the worst Big Brother tweets of all time, kind of like how we did the best BB tweet of BB25. And I think Lila has really given herself an opportunity here. This is an iconic ass tweet. So, Lila has made quite the connection. A real thinker. She says, just bought 1984 by George Orwell, and Big Brother is literally the main antagonist. At this point, you're reading, you're like, oh, it's a coincidence. You know, she's reading 1984, Big Brother, that's funny. And Big Brother is Always Watching is literally the theme of the book. I didn't realize how closely the show is based. Lily, thanks for the tier 1 sub. I appreciate it. This is a terrible tweet, which makes it a spectacular tweet. That's good. That's a good tweet. This is good. Well done, Lila. Who read 1984 in high school? I never read it, but you kind of like know the jit. Like I know, like pop culture wise, I absorbed what 1984 was. 2 + 2 = 5 and shit. And like with all the 1984 political dog whistling. But yeah, fire tweet, Lila. Only hits from you. Only hits. Other than that, BBE streets are kind of dead. Understandably. By the way, this is going to be the first Cory Wurtenberger mukbang stream. It kind of looks like vomit from that angle, but it's just white rice, salmon, sriracha, soy sauce. Very good. Just be a girl. Girl, girl, girl. Be a girl. Girl, girl. Girl, girl. Is the book based on the show? That's an interesting conversation we cannot have. Taryn has a trivia game? What are you referring to? Oh, Brando had to take the California driving test. Here's the thing about Brando. I feel like all the fundamentals for driving he's good at, but he doesn't have a clutch gene. Driving test is Friday. Okay. Check RHAP Twitter. What do you mean clutch gene? Like what I had during the double eviction. Which I could also look towards Lila's Twitter for, right? Yo, you hear, Brando? I want you to watch. This is called a clutch gene, okay?
Congratulations, Cory. You are the new head of household.
Okay, alright, I didn't know this song. This is Riz, Brando. You would know about this. I I didn't know you had Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls as the song here. And I don't want the world. Oh, my boy. The clutch gene doesn't exist in one of my Google for. The clutch gene does exist. You just wouldn't know about it. Understood? Matt going in for a kiss is funny. He's a funny enough guy. Did anyone watch the podcast he went on? I don't even know where he finds these people. Where do these invites come from? When he spent 75% of his time as a have-not? Brendo spent 75% of his time at Ponderosa. It's like... Actually, that's not true. He probably spent like 2 days at Ponderosa before going home, right? I forget, like, because Zach, when he went to Ponderosa day 3, he was there till the end. Oh, sorry. One of you probably had... All you checked your Discords right then. 5 days pregame, 5 days post-boot. Alright. You should do a stream where we can roast you. You roast me every stream. What do you mean? You want a dedicated, like, the roast of Cory Wurtenberger? Go on. No. Right now. Let's hear it. Everyone give me your roast. Right now. Everyone gets one. Your mom's so nice, she cooks for you and tucks you in at night. It's not bad. Nice soul patch. What is this, the 60s? Do I have a soul patch? It's mostly a there's a little bit, but it's mostly a shadow. No need to roast you when I can just watch BB20-25. Let's make fun of Cory. He went on the show that we all dreamed of going on. I heard Zach said something about your hair and it made you self-conscious. I don't know. I have a bald spot, Brandon. You see? Look. You only about 33% clutch, didn't win veto when Jagger Cam went after you. First of all, when Jag was going after me, I didn't need to win the veto. That was unlucky. And when Cam was going after me, I didn't get picked. That's not clutch gene. Also, for the clutch gene to turn on, to activate, you need to know that you need to win. You know what I mean? So you could say my strategic game is off. My clutch gene was always active. The one competition I needed to win, I won. Think about it. Can't turn on my clutch gene if I'm always turned on. Nice one. Tom, stop kissing Brenda's ass. You shouldn't get the pinned comment treatment. Maybe when he walks out in LA, he'll get recognized all the time. Crowd surf to and from Wendy's. In this chat, he's just like any of you. Got it? That's the truth. Brando, I keep applying for Twitch partner and keep getting denied because they say I'm underage. They're like, Section 2 of the Twitch Terms of Service does not allow children under the age of 13. And I'm like, I'm 20. I already dealt with this. I already confirmed my age with them, showed them my ID. And they keep saying no, you're a child. You're a little baby boy. How old were you when you made your account? I don't know. I mean, I don't think I was under 13, but even still, it's not like they said, how old are you, 13? Like, they'd have you put my date of birth. Send a message real quick. All right. Twitch admin is roasting you? I guess. You joined in 2014. You were 12? Shit! No way. Where do you find the Where do you find the alligator dancing in front of the menorah? When America and I started watching The Bachelor, I started doing my homework and trying to find like GIFs that I could use for every occasion. That's got to be why. But that's a ridiculous system, right, Brando? Am I crazy? Like, why the fuck would it? By the way, I'm an OG. 2014. Wait. Does Twitch not know about the progression of time? Honestly, Twitch is not a very good company. They do their best, but it's... Twitch has been around for 15 years or something, and not once has it been profitable. Not 1 month. Not 1 minute of its existence has it been profitable. The best thing the business ever did was have a global pandemic happen. All right, you guys ready to talk about our favorite Twitter account? Because there's a lot to do. A lot to do today. A lot of things. All right. So I'm gonna read this. I'm gonna try not to get too emotional about it. We need some ambiance. $653 members of the Patreon. Yeah, it's blowing up a little bit. It's pretty good. So Spoiler Girl says, just want you guys to know ahead of time, I will not be sharing non-public info this season at the request of CBS. It sucks, but I will respect their wishes. I will spoil other non-CBS shows, though. I do still get spoilers, but I'm not sharing them. I will continue to be a fan of all the shows and comment. Okay. Now. The first question. Is she full of shit? Is she full of shit? My instinct says yes. But when I'm reading this, would she really do this much? With the Paramount parentheses, quotes, collectively, comma, the series, including on X, parentheses, Twitter. Like, I don't think she's this tactful. Whomever her source was doesn't work there anymore. Yeah, I mean, that seems like the most obvious answer. Here's the thing about Spoiler Girl that we have to understand, though. Her spoilers were never the problem. Right? When she would say, Jag won the power of veto, or Terrence won the power of veto, this wouldn't be the problem. You know what I mean? The problem is when she shares her opinions. And that, CBS cannot shut that down, unfortunately. Check your contract, see if the wording is centered. Wasn't she right about America? This is what's so frustrating about Spoiler Girl. She has some information. She has a source. But she sends out so much bullshit information that it ruins the real information. You know what I mean? Like she has a source that seems to be inconsistent and sometimes gets her a little bit of stuff. Rarely. But she puts out so much bullshit because she needs more shit so she can, like, get interactions on Twitter that she just lies. Like, the past 9 seasons have been second chances. She's talked about getting Big Brother Canada 11's endgame right more time. Like, wasn't there a summer where people said Spoiler Girl was Rachel Riley? No. I don't think that's likely. Did she spoil anything for our season? just the casting stuff, right? Okay. She spoiled the 18th house guest. Exactly, that's the problem. Like, she gets stuff right, then she gets shit wrong. It's like a broken clock is wrong twice, or is right twice a day, right? So, by the way, on Matt and the podcast, I've got a theory about this. I've been thinking about the psychology behind it. And I think the example I want to use is Kyle from Big Brother 25, or 24. Because what Kyle did in the house was really fucking stupid. It was racist, it was bad, we all agree. But it wasn't the worst thing that's been done in the Big Brother house. Not that we have to tier list everything, but he can come out, apologize. I don't think anyone walked away from that saying Kyle is irredeemable, what a scum of the earth, go to hell. But obviously, when you just apologize, it's not like people forgive you and people change their minds. So that's when you get lunch with Daniel Durston. You know what I mean? There's not like a path to redemption in the Big Brother community, which I don't know if there should be, but like if you fuck up, people don't like you and that's kind of it. So I think if people find it a lot easier to just go into their little echo chamber, which is I think what Matt's doing, why he just keeps going on these podcasts and, you know, sticking in his little spot. But that's my little armchair psychologist theory of what's happening. So, this doesn't mean anything. Spoiler Girl's still gonna be Spoiler Girl. People are still gonna listen to her. But this is funny. It's definitely funny. I think Spoiler Girl is a bit of a plague in the Big Brother community, but also it's fine. Like, I don't think it matters that much. I think, honestly, the best thing Spoiler Girl does is flood her timeline with Bold and Beautiful, which makes her, like, impossible to follow. like, you can't follow Spoiler Girl. Like, if she didn't have that, I think her following would be way, way bigger. And then it might be more of a problem, but... Reaction to the Celtics winning, best team by far. Tatum and Brown are top 15 players. Not top 10. He thinks people hate him because he called America a B, but that was just tip of the iceberg. I mean, you know, it's not one thing. He thinks America hates her because he didn't use the veto on her. You guys like my Instagram post? Are you shocked I posted? How about that? I need live feeds at Oz's. Y'all, he's very, not confrontational. I don't think there's going to be much, you know. It is Felicia's birthday. Woohoo! Mama Fee! Yeah! Can't wait to see her. New York. Someone said Molly's your child. Yes. Turning 64 years old. Still not one wrinkle. Fuck you, Zingbot. Do we know if there's going to be night 1 feeds? I'm almost certain there's not going to be night 1 feeds. There might be night 2 feeds. But, like, 2-night premiere seems unlikely, right? Is America going to announce what live feed room she'll be in? That's interesting. She might, that'd be funny. She does type in the chat. Who are you most excited to see in New York City? I don't know. Honestly, like, I think Felicia's going to be fun. Obviously, I haven't seen her since the show. I'm always happy to see Izzy. We didn't get to hang out in Chicago as much as I wanted. Good to see Blue again. I think it'll be fun hanging out with people this far removed from the season. Izzy is so nice. Yeah, she's the best. Goat. Wait, so what's the vibe in live feeds room? Like, are these people Twitter people for the most part? Izzy isn't going? Do we know that? Or is it not announced? I have no idea one way or the other. I haven't talked to Izzy about it. I just know they're doing it in, like, drops. It's like Reddit? Okay. It's more of a BB Reddit guy? There's a lot worse than BB Reddit guy. I don't think BB Reddit guy is that bad. BB Reddit guys are fine for the most part. Far less toxic than BB Twitter. Yeah, I mean Twitter is just a more toxic platform, right? Chat, help. If I'm going on a date, am I supposed to tuck in my dress shirt? Keep it cash, Brenda. Keep it cash. Just don't be a BB Facebook guy. I don't think that exists. I think there's BB Facebook girls. And maybe Rick. One problem with BB subreddit is that they really don't like black women for some reason. I guess, I mean, it's probably mostly white guys, right? On Reddit, as opposed to like Twitter, which is more diverse. Spoiler girl probs in this chat. Look, I'm not looking at her account. I'm not doing this so she would respond and I can get in a beef. Like, I'm not. She could tweet. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. But it matters enough for me to talk about it on stream because I think it's funny. The Bachelor subreddit was hella white. Well, The Bachelor is a little bit behind on the diversity initiatives, right? I'm just watching some of these. Like, they've never had, like, a Bachelor of, like, all these different, like, ethnicities and race. Like, it's crazy. Jen is the first Asian Bachelor? Or is it first East Asian Bachelor? Or Bachelorette? Have they ever had an Asian male Bachelor? Or it's just Bachelor? First Asian lead, period, yeah. I will say, I think Big Brother and Survivor have done a really good... Well, Big Brother 25 was a really weird season diversity-wise. Because obviously they satisfied the quotas, but they did it by having like a lot of black women and a lot of white men. You know what I mean? There was like 5 white men. And I think 4 black women. It's a very interesting way they did it. Like, there was me, Matt, Cam, Red, Luke. Like, it was not like a even, you know, it was very odd. I think Survivor does a lot better in that regard. Red and Cam were the same archetype. They loved the space cowboy concept, I think. I think they really connected with it. Because I think what Cam was probably good at in casting was packaging himself as a character. Like, he talked about the space cowboy, and he does the voice, and he has, like, the sayings. Heisem? I don't think Heisem. I think Heisem would consider himself a person of color. Just based on his conversation with America. And how he talked about himself and Jag. He's of Egyptian descent, is that right? Space Cowboy reminds me of Beast Mode Cowboy. It fits. I think BB25 did a good job diversity age-wise. I like that. But otherwise, it was a little sloppy, but, you know. Better than every season before there was a diversity initiative, say that. We need more older people. Here's the problem. You need either older people who can win physical competitions or more equitable competitions. And the truth is, I don't anticipate them doing more equitable competitions. So, I think you need to cast more like Heisems. If you want, like, age. Because like, Suri and Felicia were gold. It's just like, I guess the point is they're trying to make a good show, not trying to make a level game where 16 people can compete for 500 or 750k, right? Because Suri and Felicia were hits for casting. And on the show, they were great. So I guess they don't care as much that they couldn't win those endgame vetoes and HOHs, right? I guess from my perspective, it just dumbs down the game a lot when you got like so many people who can't win HOH. Well, our season did better with LGBTQ+. We had Blue, Izzy, Heisem. Where's the how bad do you want it comp? I think how bad do you want it? Like, I think old school Big Brother like players are annoying about that, where they're like, oh, these people don't want it. I think every single how much do you want it comp, everyone would do everything at this point. I really feel that, at least for our season. Anyone who wasn't throwing it would have done like everything. It's funny because like before it was like people are trying to win the 750K or 500K. Now people want to become Instagram famous, but in order to do that, you have to make it far. So it's like a different kind of motivation. Shaving their heads. I mean, I would have shaved my head. Well, the Jag thing would have been weird. I think they wouldn't do that competition because of Jag. That would be unbelievably fucked up. Food comps and luxury comps were my favorite. Y'all, if they brought back food comps and luxury comps, I would not watch the show. I'm sorry. Like if they introduce a competition I have to watch that matters like zero, I would jump off a bridge. I can't do it. Give me Pandora's Box. Pandora's Box. I'm down for Pandora's Box as long as it's always some goofy shit. The problem is, it like the person who gets to open Pandora's Box is almost always the HOH, which seems kind of goofy. The luxury comp in Big Brother 25 might... I haven't watched it, obviously. We haven't gotten there in the rewatch. Might be the worst, like game, competition, whatever, ever played in any Big Brother season ever. Any reality show ever. The Halloween shit? Like, what was that? The candy one, yeah. Like, we were watching it in jury. Like, what the fuck? Suri was so mad. Alright. Let's go. Rank. So this popped up on Twitter. People were ranking the Big Brother seasons in the 20s. So seasons, 20, 21, 22, 3, 4, 5. And I see people with a lot of bad takes, okay? And I'm here to give the definitive take, okay? So, for me, of these 6 seasons, there's 3 tiers. There's ass seasons, there's mid seasons, there's good seasons. And we're going to see where they are, okay? The worst of the 6 seasons, what do you guys think? What's the worst season of the 6? I see a lot of 22. I see a lot of 21. Those are the only 2 numbers I'm seeing. Is anyone going to have an opinion? A strong opinion? 25. There it is. All right. I have 21. Now, I split it into 6 categories because I'm confusing. So, there's the cast. How good is the cast? The game. How dynamic is the game? Not how strong are the players. How dynamic and fun is the game to watch? There's vibes, which is just, vibes. The pre-jury, post-jury, and then the result, okay? Here's the problem with Big Brother 21. Big Brother 21 is the second ickiest season in Big Brother history. It has a horribly icky result, and the surrounding game is not good enough to push it any further. You know what I mean? Like, the game, I said A. It's actually a very interesting game the way it works out. It suffers from one of the worst twists of all time. Camp Comeback is terrible. But there's actually a lot of strategy going on basically the entire time. So game-wise, it's pretty good. Funnily enough, BB15, probably the ickiest season, is also very interesting game-wise. One of the most interesting game-wise. I don't think 19's as bad, because 19 had, like, elements of racism, of course. The treatment of Dominique was really bad. But I think more of the ickiness there was just generalized bullying, where this was more, like, racism, misogyny, which... It's weird, like, again, making a hierarchy of these things, but I think it's a little bit easier to watch. The main seasons I watched, like, all the feeds for were 19, 20, 21, 22. So I'm pretty informed about these seasons. So yeah, the cast is D, game is A, vibes are an F, obviously. Pre-jury, with Camp Comeback, I just thought this was terrible. Post-jury, I think, is actually pretty good. The blowing up of Grateful is really fun. Watching Cliff navigate the result. Jackson winning is brutal, obviously. I think the biggest problem is, like, the underdogs this season are kind of weird. Like, Nicole Anthony, I like her, but I don't think she was a very fun underdog. And then you have, like, just, like, Jackson outplaying everyone in the end and winning all the comps, and Holly comping out. And I think people grossly overrate Holly's game. I don't think it's a particularly good winner. It's obviously a very dislikable winner. It really has nothing going for it. There's really just nothing. This season is just boring as hell. Bella's probably the worst casting choice of all time, closely followed up by Nick, who's the second worst casting choice of all time. Jessica Milagros made one of the best, most fun moves in Big Brother history, but outside of that, it was, like, really tough to root for her as the underdog, because it's like, come on! So, yeah, tough one. Number 5, to no surprise, is BB22. The cast, obviously an A. It's an all-star season. I actually think they did a great job with the cast. Like, okay, Miss, Tyler's a hit. Memphis, at the time of casting, I was excited about, but ended up being a miss, obviously. Davon's great. I think Enzo's great. Ian's great. Keisha's great. Kaser's great. Kevin's great. It didn't end up being great of the season, but I was excited about Kevin. Danny's great. Bailey's great. I think Nicole's a good casting. Cody, I thought was great. Nicole, great. Janelle, great. Like, the casting, I thought they nailed it. Pre-gaming ruined it. Well, now that we know it's not like pre-gaming ruined it, Danny Donato, or Danny Briones, ruined it. Janelle was just trying to, you know, hands off, enjoy, take it easy, take each day as they come. Till Danny broke into her house, tied her down, got a megaphone, and started pre-gaming in her ear. I'll never forgive her. Yeah, the game is just boring as hell because the committee just runs the table. There was interesting stuff in, like, the middle game of Tyler versus Cody, and they're having this proxy war, and it's gonna blow up. But then Tyler does the ridiculous Bailey and Davon shenanigans and quits and doesn't quit, and it's just really bad, and, you know, it kind of deflates the season. Vibes, it was just dead the whole season, basically. It was exciting at the start, though. Pre-jury's fun, just seeing all these people interact, and then post-jury's like, okay, it's Memphis, Christmas, Cody, like, they're all just winning shit. And then the result, I think Cody winning is good. I think Cody's the best possible person to win this season. Like, it's like BB19. Like, I don't want to watch BB19 and then see Paul lose. In the moment, I did. But, like, if I'm going to watch BB22, let Cody get this win. What the fuck is the point if we walk away and Enzo wins, you know? Like, yeah, if Danny could have won, that I would have signed up for that, but that was not going to fucking happen, right? So I'm fine with Cody winning. One of the best winning games ever. And I really have no beef with Cody. I like Cody. I liked him on both his seasons. Seems like a nice dude. Definitely a casual. I've definitely watched the Winner's Circle. But... I do think he's less of a casual than Derek, though. I feel like Cody's a little bit more tuned in. Do you beef with Spoiler Girl? I mean, she just hates me, but, you know. I don't think too much about Spoiler Girl. Didn't Derek used to watch the feeds? I don't think so. Would you say the season would have been a lot better if Dan, Derek, Rachel, Josh, and Casey all said yes? Well, yeah, for sure. I think, like, the real thing I heard was if Josh and Casey were on this season instead of Memphis and Keisha. And, like, honestly, I'd rather see Memphis and Keisha cast, but how it worked out, I think Josh and Casey would have been more interesting. Problem is, Casey is just brutal as TV. Like, it would have been Casey and Tyler. It would have been a lot better for Tyler. Cody would have had a lot more issues. So I think it would have been more entertaining, but I prefer Memphis and Keisha before the season starts. Not too much to say. It was just a steamroll season, but less ickiness. It was a little bit, but... Alright. The next tier is 3 seasons. So I want to be very clear. All 3 of these seasons are close together. They're all close. The tier between the 2nd season and the 4th season, it's very, very small. But next up, I have 24. I think the biggest problem with 24, by far, is the cast. By far. It just has a lot of misses, right? I think you got Daniel and Nicole, of course. You got Amira. Jasmine's fun, but come on. You got Terrence. You got Kyle. You got Pooch. Paloma. Indy. Like, Monty even. Like, there's so much wrong with this cast. I think Michael and Brittany are fun. I like Turner. I think Joseph was fun, but on the show wasn't a very big character. And Taylor's Taylor, right? So the cast, I think, is the biggest problem. And I want to be clear. For me, the way I judge a BB season, cast is the most important thing by far. And then game is number 2. So the cast is D. I think the game is actually pretty interesting after the Leftovers form. Vibes are, again, pretty bad. Like, Taylor rescues the vibes, but the vibes were not good during the season. I wasn't clocked in watching everything, but I was on Twitter the entire time. Like, I feel like the vibes were not amazing. Pre-jury, I think, was horrible. It was just the Taylor getting beaten down season, which, you know, it, again, was rescued by the fact that she won, making the bullying, like, almost additive to the season. Made the season better because she was able to overcome all of this. Post-jury, I think was good, but not amazing. It was still just B. When you got Monty dominating the endgame, it can't be that fun. You get the Kyle shit as well, like... Taylor sucked. No, she didn't. I think Taylor is like a low middle tier winner. But she didn't suck. I don't believe that. And then the results in A+, just because of the vibe of the season. Taylor being the one who wins after the start she had, it saves the season from being one of the worst in Big Brother history. But I think when you let the result dictate how good the season is in its entirety, that's really bad. That's stupid, because most of the, like, 90% of the season, we're all, like, watching it on Twitter, hating it, you know? So... That's what we got here. And now this is where you guys are going to hate me. Because y'all know exactly what season I have next. 23. I think the gap between 23, 24, and 25 is really small. But goddamn, this season's kind of fucking boring, no? It's just boring. And like... So I said cast is a B. Just looking at the cast, I mean, here's the thing. Of the 6 people in the cookout, I think 3 of them are, like, great TV. And 3 of them are a mixed bag. I think Ozza is fun enough. You got Derek F., who's definitely a character, and then X, who is a little bit boring. But, like, I think Kylan, Tiffany, and Chada are all great. They're great TV. Then you have Derek and Claire. They're great. And then you've got, like... People like Sarah Bath is kind of funny. You got Frenchie, who's funny, but now it's kind of icky. Like Christian, and I'm not a big Brent fan. Like, the cast is good. I think the cast is a solid, good cast. The game is where this season, I think, gets tanked. Like, the cookout is just too dominant. It really is brutal. It's fun watching, like a great alliance operate. And there was a lot of, like, nuance to how they were playing. Like, they were all working their individual games as well. Like, Tiffany was kind of working against Kylan and X in different moments. But feeds were good. The feeds are good depending on what you want. If you enjoy just, like, the fun, the hijinks, the dancing, maybe. The strategy was not nearly as captivating as Big Brother 25. Even 24. Even 21. First week was insane, yes. Great start. Great start. So look, if you like BB23, that's fine. If that's your vibe. You like the more kumbaya, have fun vibes. But I was, the evicted house guest was set in stone once Feats came back from the veto. Exactly. Vibes is at A. So again, you people who like the vibes, there you go. Pre-jury, I think I would actually have the pre-jury as better than the post-jury in retrospect, because, like, I think even with the brigade, it's fun watching these massive alliances maneuver against the rest of the house, but when you get to the post-jury where it's like, now they're just picking off the people remaining, I think that's when it gets a little bit more boring. I respect the mission of the cookout, but it made the entire season so predictable. Yeah, I mean, it's also a fun group of people, which I appreciate, like, it's a likable alliance. Putting aside the mission's obviously great. We all agree on that. But, like, I think the people make it pretty fun, too. And also, it's not like they were all loyal to each other, but they were all working against each other, too. And the way Kylan just kind of lays down his game for X at the end is a little bit frustrating, but, what are you going to do? I said the results of B. I think X winning is fine. Good ending. I think Tiffany or Chada would have been more fun, obviously. Kylan would have been ridiculous. But X winning it's just B. Same as Cody for me. Who's a good player? Yeah, he was good. All right. I've got BB25 at number 2. I think we've got a good cast. It's kind of a weird cast, though, because, like, how do you feel about Blue? How do you feel about Jared? How do you feel about Jag? How do you feel about Cameron? Like, there's a lot of swing factors that you could say this shit's trash. But I think, like, everyone on the cast except, I think, for Red, and, like, forget about Luke. Obviously, Luke. I don't think Luke had... The Luke thing I don't hold against the season that much. He was gone week 1. It's fine. We just move. And week 1 was great. Everyone in the cast except Red contributed a lot to the season, I think. Everyone. Like, even Jared. Like, I know you guys don't like Jared, but Jared winning the wall is insane. His conversation with Blue are insane. Him leaking the secret. Him and Suri being mother-son. Like, this is crazy. But, I'm biased. I think the cast is B. You could say C, but I think it's more in line with, like, 23. The game's good, but the second half of the game is trash. First half, that's the story of the season. But the game is much, much, much more interesting than BB23, of course. I think it's more interesting than 24. I think it's more interesting than 22. It's not more interesting than 21, but the game's got so much shit happening. So much shit. And there was some drama, yeah. Vibes, I think vibes are B. Like, maybe the Twitter vibes were not good, but, like... You guys think the vibes are worse? I can see it. Kinda ick. I mean, yeah, you got a lot of people who are icky. I guess here's my main premise, right? I think BB25 is just more entertaining than 23. Especially from someone who likes the game. Pre-jury's A+. I don't think anyone disagrees with this. Ultimately, I think like BB25 has a higher peak than any season before it on this list. And here's the other big deal. This is not the first 50 days, and this is the second 50 days. This is the first 65 days. Okay? For 65. And this is the last 35. So I think that's important. It's too long is a problem. But I think, like, the greatness of BB25's early game, I think, carries it quite a bit. You want to bump it down to A because of Zombie Week, that's fine. And the result, I think Jag is a C winner. If Matt wins, how do you guys feel? Do you guys feel worse or better? Okay. If Bowie wins, do you guys feel better or worse? Honestly. I know you guys like Bowie more, but... And, like, you could say, like, oh, what if Felicia or Suri won? It wasn't going to happen. Like, I think Jag winning is fine. It's a fine winner. We can all sleep at night. We move on. You know what I mean? Matt was a good person, but not a better player than Jag. Yeah, I agree, but... Like, here's the thing. If I'm watching a season, and someone is a much better player than the other, but the other person is a horrible person, or that person, the person playing the better game is a horrible person, I don't want them to win. You know what I mean? You guys know what I'm saying. You guys get what I'm trying to say. You said it wrong. Yeah, look. Matt is not a good person against Jag, who I think is a good person. Matt played a better game. I'd still vote for Jag. That's not why I voted for Jag. I voted for Jag because I thought their games were a lot more comparable. But having all the information, that would be my philosophy. Thanks, Petty. 61 gifted over the months. And there would have been something brutal about, like, Matt just, like, being silent, whatever, and having $750,000. That would have been tough to take, I think. Another gift for my Petty. Thank you. You're crazy. They should have had no Suri or Jared. I will say, having watched the episodes, I think Suri and Jared is great for the show. I think it's not fair, but I think it's fun. What do you think if it was an all-newbie season? I think I would have had a much better chance, to be honest. I think I would have been much better off, but I don't think the season would have been as fun because Suri is such a good presence. You and Izzy final two. I think Izzy might do worse without Suri this season, based on who was in here. I mean, she probably would have just linked up with Heisem and rode it out with them for a while, but she still would have gotten annoyed with Heisem. I think she probably does pretty poorly without Suri here. On another season, maybe she does better. There were just too many people in this house who she did not vibe with. Anonymous. I'm flattered, thank you. For the 5 gifted. I don't know who you are, my guardian angel, but I appreciate it. That's wrangling red. Cam would have definitely targeted Izzy. 100%. Alright, then there's one good season. It's Big Brother 20. The cast, it's a B cast. Like, I think Fessy and Haley are fun. Tyler's amazing. Sam is a character. You got Angela and Casey who are a little bit boring. But, they give a little bit. I think Casey has her moments, and Angela and Tyler is an interesting showman that I know a lot of you guys liked. Be honest, who out of you guys were Tangela fans? Who were the Tangela fans? So was I. Look, no shame. I think the problem with this cast for me is just, like, Angela and Casey being in the final four is kind of brutal. And I guess you could say the same thing about BB25, like it was Matt, Jack, Bowie. But, you know, I still have it ranked the same. Swaggy's fun. This is Steve, not Fessy. Bailey's fun. Rachel's fun. Caitlin's fun. Scotty, I think, is actually pretty fun, too. Brett's fun. It's a good cast. You can put A if you want. I'm down. I actually agree. I'll say A. Game, A+. Amazing. So fun. Just Tyler being in control of the house. He's such a great player to watch. Vibes. Was there any controversies this season, honestly? JC. There was like the icky JC stuff, right? Is that it? By Big Brother standards, that's not that bad. Not like what JC did was terrible, but like just the JC thing for a full BB season, not that bad. Caitlyn said the N-word? What? Really? When did she say the N-word? That's crazy. She was doing a Drake song? Damn. That's crazy. I don't want to watch it. That's crazy. But, you know, vibes are good. This is a good vibe season. A lot of funny moments. You have the Rockstar's daughter's birthday. You have the swaggy blindside. There's Fessy who flipped. Angela. Yeah. Robin Cass was a better casting director for BB. I don't know. There's a lot of... I don't know. I don't know if that's true. I think Jesse's been in charge for like, what, 3 seasons? Or 2 seasons or something, and he's done pretty well. I think 24 was a bit of a miss, but 23 and 25 were good. BB Cancasts are mostly great. Y'all, live feeds don't exist. I want you to be careful about that. Because you're going to see a lot less controversy on Big Brother Canada. A lot less flaws on BB Can, so... Talk about first 10 seasons. Of the seasons I've watched, I've liked all the casts. We saw Tola's flaws. I remember Spicy V had some moments too. Okay, the pre-jury's an A+, just literally level 6, outplaying Faute at every turn, super fun. Post-jury's pretty bad. Just level 6 is finishing the steamroll. And the result, I think C is generous. Casey's not like a horrible winner by any means, but Casey beating Tyler at the end is really deflating. Like, it really hurt me. I was really bummed. BB Can 10's amazing. Yeah, I think that's my favorite season. The hacker twist was bad. Yeah, but it's pretty average when it comes to, like, extra competition twists. Kevin and Helena were the GOATs. I think Betty was the GOAT. Kevin's good, though. My only time ever picking the winner. How'd my winner picks go? I picked I picked Tyler for 20, which was wrong, unfortunately. I picked Nicole for 18, so I got that one. 22, I picked Cody, so I nailed that one too. 23, I didn't pick. 24, I didn't pick. 25, I picked Jag on the stage, but I don't know if that counts. I guess it was a little bit of insider trading. I saw Gino being cast in, like, the 999 reality show. But, like, I don't go off the rails with my winner picks. Like, I usually pick a pretty obvious person. Would you in America do BB again? Yeah, for sure. I don't see it happening, but can't say no to that kind of thing. It's talking about it 10 months later. I'm a big fan. Okay, let's get to the final part of stream. It's a long video. We're gonna speed it up for sure. We'll do 1.25. Why Cory lost week 11. This is with David Bloomberg and Ovi. Love Ovi. Let's see if I agree with them. Look, I respect both their perspectives on Big Brother for the most part. You should have kept Cameron. That was definitely not the mistake, Cory. Also, it was impossible to keep Cameron. Like, what fucking votes am I getting? It's like, so me and America, it was Cameron versus Suri, so we have to get Felicia and Blue to vote against Suri. Cory, wait, how am I doing that, man? I'm good. I'm not that good. Also, he was targeting me. He would have gone after Jag and Matt. But Cory, how do I get the votes, man? How do I get the votes? Help me. You're the expert. I get Blue and Felicia to vote out Suri over Cameron? Come on. Cook. I want to know for next time. What if he makes a great point and I'm like, damn, he's right, and this is what I overthink for the next few months? Are you watching Love Island? I've watched the first 2 episodes. Cameron was right, you were getting targeted next. You're not answering the question, man. There was nothing I could do. I couldn't save him. I didn't want to save him for a lot of reasons, but it was impossible. All right. The tab is muted.
Full co-host, Ovi Kabir. Ooh, my co-host Ovi is a secret. Don't tell anyone who you are, Ovi. We're going to keep a secret through the whole podcast, Ovi. Don't give it away.
I'm going to try my best not to give it away, because, if I was an invisible person, I wouldn't want anyone to know. It wouldn't benefit my game to tell everybody. I could at least, keep a secret for a few days.
I forgot.
Find out other information, or I could just tell everyone so I can get a good laugh.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we can trust the people who are listening and watching, so it's okay if you tell them who you are. I don't think they'll tell anyone. So yeah, we can go ahead and talk about how Jag used this amazing power to completely fool and evict Cory without him even knowing who it was.
That is true. I love that first intro. You're straight in hater mode right here. I know we have a long podcast in front of us because this is how you're starting off, David.
It's not hater. It's objective evaluation. Hate is what I feel for. Well, I don't hate very many people, but there is one person who's still on the season who every time they speak makes me want to throw up. So we'll figure that out. If you saw my Twitter, you know who that is. But yeah, obviously, Jag's superpower had nothing to do with this eviction. I know that there's a lot of talk about what did, but in order to truly find out, we will follow our usual path of comparing Cory's play and a bit of America's to a set of guiding rules I originally wrote in 2004 and have modified ever since. We'll analyze his actions and hers using what we saw on TV, live feeds, interviews, and other information. The most recent version of the rules is posted at robhaswebsite.com/BigBrotherRules. Now, we usually have some other things to discuss about the week in general, and we do again this week, though it's unfortunately mostly not good. We're going to have a lot to talk about with Cory, but I do want to quickly mention how disappointed and annoyed I am with the behavior of Matt, Jag, and Blue in particular. More so with the first two because I expect it from Blue, which may be another hint as to who I was talking about. I know that it's natural,
David-based Bloomberg,
for players to start talking crap about people once you've made them your target. It's a process of making them easier to vote out. Like, not only are we voting this person out, but they're a bad person, and that's why we're doing it, and they don't deserve it. I mean, I've seen it happen in the real world with people saying things they would never normally say about others, but those people, had already pissed them off. So then they start throwing everything else on them that, normally they wouldn't say. But these three took it a little far. Matt was probably the worst because he seems to be this nice guy. And then every once in a while, he reminds us that he has this dickish side to him. I mean, previously it was referencing Andrew Tate's views on women. This time it was making a comment out of nowhere that America gave off cheating vibes.
I saw on the podcast, someone's like, so you quoted Andrew Tate, huh? He's like, I said something that Andrew Tate once said. Siri, define quoted. He's like, well, he coincidentally said the same thing in the same words, sentence structure.
I expect that sort of thing out of
I
Cameron.
met David in Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, not Cameron, excuse me. Matt is my winner pick. So I've been a big fan of Matt since the beginning. And I understand at this point of the game, people are trying to, I don't like it, but villainify other house guests in the house so they can become a bigger target. And you want to really set up, when you know you have the target this week, you want to start setting up the target next week so it helps to have that, propaganda spread about them. But the issue it gets a little ugly. There's a fine line because I think there's a game component to it where you need to spread a few little rumors about them. But I think at some points it crosses when he's, like you mentioned, saying America is seen as a cheater or without there's really any indication of that. It just comes off really icky. So wasn't a big fan of that. I get what they're doing game wise, but also we're gonna have to
It's post eviction.
talk about down the line. I think it's going to impact some things. You got to think about jury votes at this point in the game. So it's kind of one icky, but also
post eviction during the season.
Yeah, if it gets back, oh my gosh, Blue was also being nasty to America behind her back, but then pretending to be her friend to her face. And again, like you said, it's Big Brother. That's to be expected. Again, it just seemed to go beyond the pale. It's one thing to talk smack about people, but Blue just goes over the top nasty. Not to mention she just has such a high opinion of herself that is absolutely unwarranted.
I think one thing I noticed too was we really see, and I think viewers, both of the live feeds and of the show, maybe a little less so, can see though, Blue is putting on a persona on the show when she's in the DRs. It's very different when you see her DR.
I enjoy the Big Brother coverage on RHAP so much more than Survivor, and I love the Survivor stuff too. But it feels like they're a lot less. They're more unhinged when it comes to Big Brother. Like they'll say, they're Survivor, they're a little bit more nervous about like Survivor shutting them down. Big Brother, I think they're just rolling the dice. It's also the vibe that accompanies Big Brother, right?
ER segments versus like when she's talking just casually. And we've actually seen videos of her in like other little production things.
I'm going to try not to pause much.
Where we really see her personality come out. And I really love that Blue. I really like when she's just truly just lets herself be her versus this persona she's playing on TV. And I get it. There's Big Brother, the game, and then a lot of people view going on Big Brother as a platform to kind of jump on to something else, which that's neither here or there. We want to see them play the game, but also we want to see them be themselves in a way that I think actually would be more beneficial to her game than the way she is doing it right now.
Yeah. And then there was Jag, who got so terribly offended that America told him to literally F off. He went and complained to Cory about it, which is it's just terrible for two reasons. One, Cory is not her keeper. She is a full-grown adult. She's older than Cory. She is her own person. You have a problem with her, talk to her. Don't go talking to her boyfriend like he's going to control her or something like that. It was just icky in that way. Not as icky as Matt, but icky in that way. Two,
I did have to talk to America about this and be like, America, look, I'm going to campaign all week to try to stay. But I'm not going to be able to do it. So you have to repair your social game with these people. Because as much as I'd love for you to keep saying fuck you, and hopefully that makes me stay, it's not going to happen. So you gotta, I'm like, if this is a path for me to stay, I'm down. I don't think it's going to happen, so we gotta fix this.
Dude, you just completely blindsided her. You're sending her or her boyfriend at that point out of the game. Maybe consider that in that moment, it's not about you. It's, this is not the first time we've seen someone push on a player right after turning on them on a reality TV show. I have images ingrained from other shows where, Survivor, Millennials versus Gen X, someone turns on them and immediately on the beach is like, I want to explain myself. And they're like, can you just give me a moment to breathe? And so, Jag reacting this way is, like I said, not the first time we've seen it. But every time, I just don't understand how the one doing the pushing can be so clueless. Just have their space and a little time.
Of course, David's right.
I'm going to I agree with you in a lot of ways. I'm gonna do a little pushback on this one. I think there's two things going on.
What's Ovi cooking?
One, I think his like reaction to it afterwards was kind of like
look at the
very
doggy.
extreme. The way Jag was, there goes my dog. Where Jag essentially, tries to explain this and this and this, like this is why I was upset, whatnot. But I also think there's a game element where you're trying to push somebody as much as you can, and America, I think people agree, regardless of whether it was warranted in the real world, I think it's warranted. In the game, it just doesn't help to say F you, especially the person in power when you're in a lower position on the totem pole. And
I don't know. My boss, my old
Your
boss,
plan could have
called her
worked.
boss, the Wicked Witch of the West.
No.
All over
Felicia
the place,
didn't
publicly.
like me and Suri.
Oh, and then she got fired. So yeah, maybe you're right.
Didn't
Maybe
like
it
me.
doesn't help.
Suri liked me,
and
but in the
I'm
game,
not
she wanted me
arguing
out.
the point that I think that America isn't in the right to be able to express her feelings, and then I think Jag just like took a little overboard in a sense. But I do think that part of what we said is you're trying to put a target on somebody. She really gave the ammo he could have used. Yes, I thought it was weird. I think there's a weird thing going on in the house where they look at Cory as like being controlled by America, and Cory is kind of a good natured person. Jag and Matt view that, and then America is the kind of the corruptor. That's where it gets icky for me. But I will say I think this was good ammo against America for Jag to be able to kind of use. We'll see.
I respect Ovi.
Yeah, I mean, I loved
he's
seeing her
gonna
do
have
it
good
because it was what she felt, and they deserved it. I wasn't that in the
If
moment.
you hadn't gone to Felicia, but like I needed both of them anyways. Like I don't think the order mattered that much. If I like approach Suri with it and convince her fully, and then she's able to convince Suri or Felicia because she's so good, like maybe. But I still needed Felicia on board, and Felicia did not fuck with Suri at that point. Like it just I don't think there was a path. I think I could have tried harder with Blue because I didn't know how much Blue hated America.
I have yes. Should she have done it for her long term? Probably not. But the thing is the thing that like you said, him reacting to it, like no one had ever said the F word to him in his whole
It's true
life.
they had a Final
Like,
Four, yeah.
Oh my ears.
Yeah.
And then just like we need to talk right now. No, you don't. You've got like 4 days before.
Yeah.
Okay, Barrera, I needed Felicia as well. Like I couldn't do it without one of
It's not
them.
about you in this moment, Chad.
Yeah. And FU in the real world, though, is very different than FU in the At that point, all your feelings are so...
All right, let's go.
Of lies. People lie.
Let's talk about the game.
After 2.5 months lies in Big Brother. I mean,
I think one thing, I think we'll talk about it within it. And Cory, and I hope Pat the show and Pastor Show they do well. But I thought it was interesting because we really don't see a duo like that where it's both people really trying to are strategic minded and trying to plan ahead. And so that was kind of a fun element that I will be missing going forward.
Yeah. Now whether they were successful or not, we'll talk about in a couple minutes. Normally
Mixed
now
bag.
would be time for our Julie Chen Moonves is wrong about blank segment, but this time she didn't say anything terribly off kilter in her Entertainment Weekly interview. Now that rule says not to scheme and plot too much. Normally, we would start with rule 1. But in this particular circumstance, it makes more sense to just jump to the second rule first. Now that rule says not to scheme and plot too much and to keep your scheming secret. The secret part is certainly an issue here, both for Cory and America. Now, let's start with the issue.
Damn, like, is there a way I could keep the scheming secret? Like, I'm kind of inspired by Charlie on Survivor being able to do it because he's seems like such an obvious schemer, but like everyone in Survivor's like that. Like, they all thought I was going to be a schemer before I even walked in there, Like, I don't know. I don't know how the fuck I, keep it secret. I think it was bigger than it should have been at some point, but, fuck. I think I was
Almost
in a tough
everybody
spot.
is blaming as the reason for Cory getting evicted. And that is America spilling too much information to Blue. Now, obviously, this did happen. America was incredibly foolish to do it. And I don't say that lightly. It's one thing to make a mistake in Big Brother. It happens. But America has made the same mistake over and over and over again. And Cory has explained it to her over and over and over again. Why,
I get why she did it, though.
And she has seen the consequences over and over and over again.
But yeah,
And
it
yet
was,
she still
it was
kept
tough.
doing it.
I think it's her biggest
kept saying,
regret.
She's sorry. But for
Even, because I think we agree, if she didn't do that, honestly, I think there's a chance I stay if she doesn't, just because Jag, I think, really did not want to betray me. I think friendship-wise, he didn't want to. But I think even if she didn't do it and I got backdoored, I think she would have felt better,
Cory kept warning her about oversharing information, and she just would not listen. She wouldn't need to apologize so much if she had learned from the first dozen or so times. Now, I know it's a little strange. A little while ago, I said, well, Cory's not the controller of her. Why are you, And so, yeah, in this case, he wasn't trying to control her. He was giving her...
Matt talks him
like
into
you said,
it.
They're both gamers.
I
He
don't
was
know. Matt
explaining to her
wasn't able to convince
of it all.
Jag much at that point.
But she was like a toddler who kept touching a hot stove.
Like,
You know,
Matt was
she
trying to get me
being told not
backdoored
to.
at the final
Yeah.
10.
Occasionally she'd get a minor burn, but this time her whole game caught on fire.
Yeah, I think this
He
is
would've
kind
done
of
it
the
anyways.
catch-22
I think
when you're
so.
in the showman's, right?
I think
You
so, but,
have
you know.
the power of having essentially 2 votes in one,
Mhm.
2 advocates for an issue within one a group. But the issue is that your actions will be completely impacted by the other person. So we found many times, and this is going to be for me. I'm going to focus a lot on Cory. I think both of us will focus on Cory and this stuff. But
Yeah.
America plays a component where she.
I think America and
really
I's
was
mess
kind of
up was
negatively
we should have just
impacting
gotten
Cory's game in a
closer
way
to
because
Jag.
She was playing a game which I don't
Like,
even disagree
really
was she was
went
playing
all
kind of
in.
an individual game, and many times when we really know Blue does not care much for Cory. That's been proven, that's shown the track record, but she wants to create an ally. She's creating a ship, which again I don't think in nature is the worst thing to have a getaway car, that when the Cory showman sinks, she's still able to continue to play the game. But I found it a little bit too early in many ways and a little too much information. I mean, here's the thing is that Cory truly, and I think, we get so far in the game at this point, multiple weeks in, and we saw Cory start at kind of ground zero, ground -1, if we remember him coming into the house, because he came in essentially one of 4 people on the block. So what I'm interested in is I think there was a lot of great ways that his game was within the showman. He had power, but I also think his game completely changed when he became viewed as a duo.
I think you could argue, week 1. I think my best week, gameplay-wise, is week 3. Then probably week 6. Then I think week 1. Week 1, I was kind of cooking.
And yeah, we'll both have plenty more to say about that as we go on, I'm sure. Now, America herself said, I know this had nothing to do with Cory. He's such a good player. He's always so careful with his words, and I'm not, and I feel so sloppy. And she wasn't even talking about kissing. She said, I'm the worst player ever. I should have known better. Now, I will say, America, you're not the worst player ever. Not by a long shot. Not even this season. Not even this month. But yes, she should have known better. Now, I have a few examples here. Weeks or months ago, Cory explained to America that she couldn't tell the others that she trusted.
Yo, NTM on America, by the way. Yo. This is why Cory lost. Why Cory lost BB25.
Jag. But she kept, now this was, like I said, this was a while ago. She kept not only telling people, but would hang out with him all the time too. Later, Cory told America about the 7 Deadly Sins Alliance.
Damn, this shit was funny. Like, I had to keep... I remember that was me running around the house being like, America needs to stop hanging out with Jag, but not because I'm possessive or weird, nothing like that, just because of strategic reasons. Then I'm talking to America. I'm like, I don't mean to be I was so, overthinking, overly conscious of that shit.
Immediately start talking.
Because I didn't want it to be like, oh, we have to isolate you from Jag.
Even telling him that she heard it from Cory. Then Jag turned around and told Izzy. Izzy told Cory. The whole thing was a big circle. You might think this would have told her or taught her, don't tell Jag stuff. But no, she kept telling him everything that Cory would tell her, to the point that at one time Cory got so frustrated, he told Izzy, my mistake is telling America anything. America's mistake is being America.
Hi, Cory. Don't. Everyone, do not send this shit to America. That's kind of fire, though.
Mistake is telling America anything. America's mistake is being America. But wait, there's more.
That's fire.
Knives here.
Flames.
Weeks ago, America finally realized she probably couldn't trust Blue because information had leaked. Meanwhile, as you mentioned, Blue had also been gunning for Cory. So you might think those 2 important things would cause America to maybe pause on sharing information with her. But no, she was still doing it, which led up to this point. And it's
David stopped eating.
like you said,
she
was looking for.
We all know what happened in the
and
game.
She thought that she was doing.
I have a lot of
favor,
problems too.
which would kind of ingratiate her.
But this is part of it
Now,
for sure.
I don't know why she would want to do Blue a favor, other than what you mentioned, but several other people tried telling Blue about the situation, and Blue wouldn't listen.
So much of the problem for America, though, is so many allies were ineligible. She couldn't go all in with Cam. She couldn't go all in with Matt. She couldn't really even go all in with, Felicia. There were so many people who, were just non-starters for her that she had to be very, she had a very small pool of people she could pick from. Jared, non-starter. So really the people she could try to work with were, me, Mimi, Jag. She didn't even know Blue was not an option. And, Suri. That was it.
They told Blue she was the target. No. as Kirsten McInnes said on last Sunday's live feed recap, you can't really use logic.
Yeah,
on
she was just
someone
trying
like
to play slower.
I think that
start.
sums it up perfectly. I mean, really, she goes totally with her feelings, ignores logic. I mean, how many people have to tell you something and you still go, nope, that's not it. America went into more detail, which is where she got into more trouble. Not to mention, she was talking
What's up,
about
JR?
the HOH,
Happy birthday.
throwing the HOH under the bus before the veto comp had even happened, which is not smart at all. She should have just let it happen. And instead, it showed no good deed goes unpunished in Big Brother.
I think this season is a very difficult season in a way of information sharing, getting back to people, because we see there are so many connections, right? We go back to Sari and the whole Sari and company.
Right.
You have Jared and her connection. So in the beginning of the game, you have Cory incredibly close with Izzy and that being his connector, but without realizing she's already now bonded with Sari and Jared. So you have this information train that really does not stay with just one person, within all groups.
Like I didn't see the Sari and Jared connection as close as obviously they were, but I saw Izzy and Sari were like, I would never tell anything to Izzy that I wasn't comfortable with her telling Sari.
Even with the mother and son duo, you saw information flowing else. Even when they told each other, it would go elsewise.
Like perception in the house was Izzy and Sari were obviously a final two.
Of this type of nature of the game, but I also want to put there some level of autonomy, right? That Cory has, that it's not just on America and other people too in this game. It's that Cory has to be at some point to make the decision that, hey, how much information can I share to the people that I'm even closely working with? I think we see this within this overplaying hand, is that Cory probably was, if he was able to set a personal boundary with him, and
I think the reason people look at America more for that is like everyone was leaking stuff to Sari, who is like the power player. Like I leaked a lot of stuff to Sari, and that's good in moments, but she was leaking stuff to like the people who were getting targeted every week. So it's like if you're leaking it to the person in charge, it's annoying, but like you're not going to get destroyed for that.
America, we might have been able to see him play a game a little differently, where his moves wouldn't be overplaying.
But she also, that's what you have to do if you're trying to flip the house.
Play a perfect game, and I don't want to negate the good impacts that his showmasters had in the game, but I think by this time, it's very evident that every move they kind of made was overplaying, because it was seen as, even though it's two separate people, it was seen as the person making that move.
Right. And, so that's really where we find ourselves. Okay, America did a lot of things that led up to the worst decision she made. But did her telling Blue that information directly lead to them being nominated? Was it the cause? Now, it's impossible to say for sure. It seems likely that Jag and Matt would have arrived at this decision anyway. I mean, they should have as soon as Jag won Invisible HOH. It was the perfect opportunity to do it. Cory knew it. America knew it. Felicia knew it. Sari knew it. I'm pretty sure even Bowie Jane knew it. But Jag and Matt didn't, and the light didn't go on for them until Blue told them what happened. I
think Matt wanted to do it.
From Sari of Blue that wasn't shown on TV, of course. So Blue gets all this credit for this move that really was Sari in the background, being the puppeteer. So
I wonder why they needed Sari to be the puppeteer. Like, why couldn't they just have Blue do it?
When America said...
Or sorry, the opposite. Like, why couldn't they just have Sari do it? Like, does it sound better coming from Blue?
And she felt like, such an idiot because they were in a good spot until she gave information to Blue. That's not really true. Because it could have happened anyway. It most likely would have happened anyway. This isn't a choose your own adventure book. You can't go back and see, what would have happened if I hadn't said that? Let's see what path we would have gone down. But, I think the likelihood is that they would have figured it out. And part of that is they weren't in the good spot that she thought, because most of the house has seen Cory as an over-schemer since like day one or two. You mentioned he came in a bad spot because he was one of the 4 nominees. But worse than that, I mean, the very first note that I had remaining in my 34 pages that started today was from the first or second day. It said, Jared and Sari were most...
I think we talk about it every day, but like the Izzy flip, it's like America wanted to do it since like week 4. So you can give her credit from there. But the social capital part, I think, is the most important part of Big Brother by far. Like Cameron wanted to do it at the same time as America, but no one gives credit.
Most worried about...
I really think the show, as far as I know, did a pretty good job of divvying up credit, in my opinion. I'm obviously a little biased. But
Cory, and Sari even called him a snake. This is day 1 or 2. They just met Cory. They barely knew him, and already he's a snake. Yeah, now, Cory spoke to Sari alone to, later to try and smooth things out and explain where he stood, and I just don't think that view of him ever really left. Others said similar things, like Heisem told Felicia. There was no doubt in his mind that our little friend Cory is running his effing mouth. And that Cory wanted Sari out because he's watched Survivor. even though we knew Cory wanted no such thing. Cory wanted to play with Cirie and then knock her out at like Final 5 or something like that.
Final 7.
Heisem added that Cory watched Big Brother religiously.
It was more like, I know how this works when there's a returning player on the cast. I'm not gunning for Cirie right now. Like, I'm not insane.
With his family, and they all watched the...
You should get the most credit because it was the fight with Jared that really flipped Jagged and Matt to vote out Izzy. No. The flip was well before that. It was the previous night, but I think edit-wise, it probably made it a little bit more, like, delicious because, you know.
The live feeds together. Oh, the horror. But the point is,
they probably edited most of the episode before the fight even happened, though.
You know, that archetype. He came in as the schemer of the season.
I think it's rightly said because I think, and I think this is kind of a funny thing to say, that there's a unfortunate bad stereotype of young white men when they come into the show. But when you have like a guy coming out of college, and I speak for myself,
it's so unfair.
Too, as just you're going to be incredibly
I'm a
smart,
victim.
maybe, or a schemer. When it might not even be.
If I was the next episode, yeah.
Wasn't true. And you have.
Yes,
like,
you were.
I'm sure that edit was fun between the wall and the fight.
Unfortunately, I think I had Cory's fault of telling too many things to other people as well. And I think, though, in this case, we see kind of a disadvantage for Cory, where he's really trying to play an uphill game, where there's this view of him that, okay, why is he being cast?
I didn't have the quarterback stigma. That's true.
You're cast for this. You're cast for this. Of course, there are archetypes, right? But you got to think of what they can match. And so the easiest one to match to Cory was, he must be a genius. He must be a young.
Can someone find out what day that quarterback conversation was? Because I want to see Taryn talk about it. Because that was one of the funniest things I've ever heard. One of my favorite conversations in the house. It was crazy.
And I think that unfortunately, because of past winners like Steve and Ian, it has reinforced that stereotype of just, you know, that person. You have also Michael from this last season, who was kind of more of a competition beast and all around, you know, thing. But
exactly, going to the storm.
These guys coming in here who are young guys, and they're like, can't trust him. So even though Cory wanted to shake that stereotype,
I have no idea what it was. I mean,
he did have.
It was probably like week 6. It was either week 6 or week. He was HOH, so it was week 6 or week 10.
We just saw it was ingrained in everybody's, you know, like minds that I can't truly trust Cory because I know he's going to try backstab me. Even though Cory's like, I just want to play with you.
Week 10.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's you know, another example. Felicia has been constantly anti-Cory, and you know, we'll talk a little bit more about that. But you know, even as you know, going back to the pressure cooker, as soon as some of her people came out, she was like, "We got to get rid of him. He's too smart. You know, there's no way he's a 21-year-old college student. He's lying. I don't care what he said." You know, and it's just like, what did he do to you? You know,
I don't know what I could have done with Felicia.
That's
tough.
When he was interviewed by Julie, he's like, and Felicia was against me. I still, you know, I don't know why. But yeah, I think it's just this impression that you know people have.
Felicia just, we never had a super close one-on-one connection. I think that's it.
Almost every time Cory lost a competition, everybody's like, "Oh, he threw it. He threw it." And yeah, did he?
When are you gonna start watching I Love New York?
Probably. But like
soon, with the BB25 rewatch, we're doing that tonight. Like, we just want to start earlier because I have class.
And it's like, I don't think he would have said that if he had thrown every comp.
She didn't like you because you weren't religious. I don't know if that's true. I don't think that's right.
He was playing everyone.
She would have liked me more, I'm sure, if I was.
Felicia, she kept spreading that he was on all sides the whole game, pitting everyone against each other. He was the same as Cameron without winning comps. Even this week, one excuse Jag used was that Cory and America were 100% with everyone right now, which doesn't even make logical sense because he also previously said the whole house was against Cory, which is why they'd want to keep him around. Currently, Cory is magic. He can both have everyone with him and against him at the same time.
Are they going to come to the conclusion that Cory played perfectly? Because that's kind of what it sounds like. Am I crazy?
But logic was not involved here. People just had this image of Cory that never went away.
Yeah, and I just always think back with the conversations where Nicole and him would have, where there was a point in the game where truly Cory was one of the only few house guests that was checking on Nicole and just trying to keep a relationship going. And Cory had a system. He would wake up and he's like, you know, I need to spend at least.
Yeah, I mean, that checks out. the Felicia stuff, that sounds about right.
A certain amount of time with each person. And he even talks about it, which again, at the core, is not really wrong.
I think if America gets booted at the final 10 or 11, like if she goes week 7, I think I could win the game. But I kind of needed her for a while. You know, like, if she went week 7, I think I could win. But if she goes week 2, it's really hard. Like, I'm not going to be able to flip the house without her.
I have a whole calendar list where I have my friends' birthdays on there who are close to me, and when it pops up, I'm like, oh, send them a happy birthday. Yes, that's methodical, but it's methodical.
And you throw most of the comps.
Sure you don't
I threw everything up until the wall, and then nothing from the
engineered
wall.
way to like, oh, I need to do this and this. Same way for Cory, he understands he gets part of the game, but also it's like I want to check in on my allies. But the viewpoint from Nicole was that I know what Cory's doing. He is every day taking time out of his day, checking on me for 15 minutes, so that way we're good. And I just thought it was really interesting because Cory just wanted to work with Nicole a lot.
And the problem wasn't like America was ruining my game. It was just I was in a duo.
But it just wasn't at all shared.
I was in a duo where I was going to go home first. So we found these things where really Cory was going through with good faith nature. And I know we're speaking a lot of positives. We're going to talk about some things, that didn't go as right for him. But in these cases, I feel like I can't hold against Cory when certain house guests just don't want to work with him just because of the way they view him.
Yeah.
Or nothing he controls.
Yeah. And now, you wanted to you wanted to get to the negatives.
All right,
you already mentioned this somewhat. About Cory telling the truth way more than he should have. And it's funny because he really did. And yet somehow the house guests believed he lied way more than he did.
Yeah, I was very conscious about
things
this.
Straight out that he never should have. But
I think telling the truth is good.
Again, just a few examples. He talked to people who were not his allies, like Blue, about those he might want to target. Like, talking about Cameron when Cameron was the HOH. Even worse, several times he told the HOH.
Okay. Didn't Blue... This pissed me. Because Blue came to me and said, I'm targeting Cameron. And then handed me the microphone. It's not like I volunteered it to her first. It was a trap. What am I supposed to say to Blue? Okay, I shouldn't say I'm targeting the HOH when... But I figured, okay, if Blue's telling this to me, I can go rat it out to Cameron as well. So it's there's no reason she should tell me this. And, first of all, why does she need to bait me into saying it? She could just go lie to Cameron.
Like Cameron and Bowie.
That's same tree. But, you know what I mean? Why would she put in so much effort? Why doesn't she just go to Cameron and say, yeah, Cory said he was targeting you?
Jane, that he felt perfectly safe. It's
Blue did kind of mastermind the whole interaction. Yeah, but it didn't work.
Taking advantage of them. And other times he laid out all his plans. Like when he told Bowie Jane that he had told Suri and Felicia that he'd have to go after Matt and Jag, but not yet. And he was even honest with Jag about saying that. That gave them the opportunity to know when to go after him.
Yeah, I mean, this was all bad, but there was an intention behind it. The intention was okay, Matt and Jag are going to win every competition. Or at least they're most likely to win. Matt, Jag, and Blue. But mostly Matt and Jag, mostly Jag. So, you can't say anything bad about Jag because Jag's going to find out. But you still need to build alliances with, Felicia and these people, which requires you to say you're targeting Matt and Jag. So it was how do you walk the line of conveying to these people that you're targeting Matt and Jag, but also making sure it can't get back to Matt and Jag? It didn't work, but there was intention behind it. It wasn't me just being sloppy. Well, it was me being sloppy, but it wasn't me being careless. It just didn't work.
Another common thing he'd do was being over-honest in his strategic conversations, telling people.
Blue was a great social player, but a terrible strategic one. I don't think she was a great social player.
No,
she was okay. She wasn't that bad.
Themselves. It felt like he assumed they were playing chess, and everyone could look at the chessboard the same way he did, and be like, "Oh, yeah, my rook is about to knock out your bishop." But
Blue is good in conversations. I don't know what that means. She has an okay skill set to do well at Big Brother, I think. I think she has the skills to maybe be good one day.
By basically coaching them.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was the unfortunate part. That I'm truly impressed with Cory in so many ways. And I just feel like when you come into the game with this level of archetype, yes, you have to try play a lay-low game in ways, but at some points when people keep giving you the the evidence in front of you that they're not going to work with you or they're not going to be able to play, you need to lean into it. I wanted Cory to go into evil mastermind, and that's really why. And I think that's tough, right? Cory's a really young guy. It's tough to break out of your nature and pivot when you're that early.
Go back and listen to what David says. It really.
I'm truly impressed with Cory in so many.
It's hits, and everyone could look at the chess. That gave them the opportunity to know when to go after him. Another common thing he'd do was being over-honest in his strategic conversations, like telling people that a plan was good for him, but maybe not them. No, just no. Let them figure it out for themselves. It felt like he assumed like they were playing chess.
Okay. Yes, but this was really good for me for the first, like, I think here's what happened. I was so successful at the start of the game, and I kept doing the same things later in the game, and they worked in the first half and didn't work in the second half. Like, that whole thing I did with, like, Riley and Cameron. Like, where I'm talking to Serene, being like, for me, keeping Riley's good, but for you guys, Cameron's a little sketchy. I think it's hard. Like, that really made them like me a lot and trust me a lot. And that's when they're saying, like, oh, Cory will give good advice when it comes to Heisem. And I'm able to convince them to, like, it worked a lot. And then I kept doing it. Like, I tried to do it to save Jag over Red. It didn't work there. I tried to do it, like, you know. It's like, here's the thing. When you're in a good position in Big Brother, everything works. When you're in a bad position, nothing works. And you have to fight so hard to change the dynamic of where you are.
And everyone could look at the chessboard the same way he did and be like, oh, yeah, my...
feel like when you come into the game with this level of archetype, yes, you have to try play a lay low game in ways. At some points when you...
Unless you're Dan. Look, Dan
keep giving you
had two great seasons, but...
What's the word?
Some of his shit's not going to work sometimes, you know?
That they're not going to work with you, or they're not going to be able to, but you need to lean into it. I wanted Cory to go into evil mastermind, and that's really why. And I think that's tough, right? Cory's a really young guy. It's tough to break out of your nature and like pivot when you're that early, especially you're worried about how you're going to be viewed by TV, your family's watching. There's a lot more stressors, I feel like, when you're younger, more than 18. I don't think you're completely comfortable or confident. I think very few like young 20-year-olds will tell you.
Jag and Matt were giving nothing in combos, but they never gave anything in combos. Like, it was easier to read Suri, Izzy, and Jared. Or, it was easier to read Izzy and Jared.
I'll tell you now, but later on, I'll be like,
Jag and Matt, they just don't give you much.
Like, I was just, and I speak for myself that you just haven't found yourself in a way, so it's very difficult to kind of like pivot or like lean into and be like, you know what, I'm going to be evil in this game and take these folks out. I'm going to use their insecurities, turn it around on them. And I feel like Cory had a capability to do that. But like you said, he was just really kind of coaching some folks.
I don't know if I had the capability to do
It's kind
that.
of like when you play cards with your friend who doesn't know how to play, right?
I think OV's overstating my ability a little bit.
If you're trying to teach him how to play poker or whatnot, you're not going like this. You're not going to just try crushing him on the river. You're trying to tell him how it goes.
At least fun.
You're happy to lose a hand because you're like, we're playing for fun. And unfortunately, the other players were not playing for fun. They were playing for blood to get Cory out. And it took so many soldiers, one by one they fell till he got there.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when I would, teach my sons games.
Jared wasn't there. Do you think you would have had a path at the crossroads?
Like, okay, if you make that move, see
yeah,
what
for
can
sure.
happen here.
I don't know if the crossroads even forms.
At some point,
probably not. But I could have worked with Izzy and Suri a lot easier.
They got better than me.
Because I would have been like more
there were some
valuable to them.
games that we played that I could never win. I remember there was a game
what's up, Queen?
where you moved pieces and they had mirrors on them and there was a laser bouncing off and you had to get the laser. And it wasn't even that he was doing it intentionally. He just seemed to assume that they saw the same thing he did, that they had the same logical mind. Like, well, of course,
no, they would not have expelled someone for saying the R word. They view it differently.
If we could have read their mind,
I mean, it is different, but I think they're both slurs.
Because someone like
TOS is
Matt,
pretty
he
clear.
doesn't think that way. Someone like Jag, he probably was thinking the wrong way. Someone like Blue, minor spoiler of the live feeds here, she's revealed she's a brand strategist and she's a super strategist. Yeah, Blue, you're not a strategist. And and so it's telling her information, same thing. So yeah, he was too honest. And yet with all this over honesty, they still made up ridiculous conspiracies about him. Like Felicia still, I think to this day, does not believe that Jared revealed the brown sugar baby.
So annoying.
This was weeks after Jared was gone. It didn't matter anymore. And yet she still says, Cory's lying about that. Even, very much recent here, after Jag double back to...
I wonder if I even should have revealed it to Mimi and Felicia at that point. Like,
whatever, went to her room and her bed was fine.
I was just trying to make sure they were, like, certain that they didn't fuck with Jared and Suri anymore.
Find out what happened. But right away, and we saw this on TV, or at least part of it on TV, people like Matt and Felicia were saying, there he goes, already campaigning against his girlfriend. It's like, no, he just wanted to talk. It is possible to just talk, but not for him.
Those clips I love. The ones like, when America finds out what Cory's doing, she's going to be so pissed.
Survivor why blank lost. And my co-host for that, Jessica, was mentioning that, sometimes when you're walking with someone on the beach, you're not scheming with them. You're just talking to them.
Yeah.
And the same thing's true in Big Brother. So you can just talk to people, but not him. Anything he did, that he was scheming. He was plotting. Now, the one time when Cory really should have been more straightforward, he wasn't. Leading up to the double eviction, Cory had indicated to Blue that if he won HOH, he'd put up Jared and someone else. And then
This
it
didn't
actually
matter.
happened. He won HOH. He
This
asked
didn't
her
matter.
if she would be okay going on the block. She said, obviously, she didn't want to.
Like, I could have done better
Got
here,
her to
but it
promise
just
that if
didn't
he
matter.
put her on the block, she wouldn't use the veto. And he said, okay, I trust you. Then he went and talked to everyone else, and they're like, no, do it. And he did it. Now, I said way back at the time, you handled this poorly, Cory. You should not have done this. Either you should have prepared her for the fact that she was going on. At the very least, you should
You need
not
to
have
watch that
asked-
episode. Yeah, well, I know. I've seen that. The double eviction, it cuts out the part where she says she would have used it. I say, would you use it on Jared? She goes, yes. I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to put you up. She goes, okay, I won't. And then I'm like, okay, fine.
Her these questions, said I trust you, and then nominated her anyway. Everyone else.
No, the Blue did not hate me because I nominated her against Jared. Like, I flipped the house on her and then got rid of Jared. That wasn't the problem. Like, she wasn't pissed at me because I lied to her about not nominating her and then nominated her a second later. Like, that was not the problem at all.
Everyone else was on board, but he was the HOH, so he took the blame. And she has been complaining about it ever since. Even going on now about how, now they see what it's like being.
She was
up against
already
this
anti-me.
romance on the
Like,
block. She was on the block against Jared for like half an hour. Don't act like it was some huge emotional roller coaster. It happened and it was done. Now, it could be that no matter how he handled that move, Blue would have still been very anti-America and Cory. But in those
y'all, nomming her was the right move. What is that really a debate? Like, her and Jared are the right noms. If your problem is how I handled it, like, okay, but I really don't think it was. Ultimately, if I said, Blue, I'm going to nominate you, and she said, okay, I think we're in the same exact spot of me,
those few moments, he really
Was Jared Serene not an option? It's an option. It's just a much worse option. Because if Blue takes off Jared, what the fuck do I do? It's over. And also, putting Blue in means another good competitor to go against Jared. You should have thrown Matt and Jag under the bus and said that they were in on the noms. And then what? And then Matt and Jag win 7 HOHs in a row? Like,
handled it in the worst
this was not the mistake. I really don't think this was the mistake.
possible.
Double eviction vetoes, though? Yeah, but Blue's good. Like, Blue's not a slouch. There's a lot of double eviction vetoes Blue could be okay at. Send home Mimi? That's not good for me. I probably nom Felicia and Cerritos, is what happens. Which maybe actually is okay, but I'm still in trouble.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I've viewed Blue in the game a lot of ways as
Just share that it was a
the
group
right
decision.
word about this.
Bad.
But as,
The whole house is against that.
That's
I know that.
as a component, I'm going to try to be nicer, that people could utilize, a person, an ally that they could use to have on their end. Because we've seen for a while, Blue was actually very anti-Jared at moments where she was ready to turn on him, and that didn't last long. I know that.
Yeah.
But that was never harnessed by the other side.
Right.
That week where Cory had that double elimination, double eviction, there was a good ability that he would have had to, even though he's evicting Jared, turn Blue in some shape or form and a true ally to himself. And he was unable to do that because he kind of misplayed that whole situation. I will give him a little
What's Ovi saying here?
he was ready to turn on him, and that didn't last long. I know that.
Yeah.
But that was never harnessed by the other side.
Right.
That week where Cory had that double elimination, double eviction, there was a good ability that he would have had to, even though he's evicting Jared, turn Blue in some shape or form and a true ally to himself. And he was unable to do that because he kind of misplayed that whole
September
situation. I will
5th?
give him a little
Okay, thanks, Tabor. I
grace
appreciate
because that was, I think, if I remember correctly, the only time he has won a competition.
Yeah.
So I think the whole adrenaline hit him. He wasn't sure how to do it. I mean, it comes down to the end of the day, like they didn't win enough competition to have as much power as they did. If anything, it's impressive they had as much power without winning competitions in a house that's kind of full of competition beasts. No one has, other than Sari, not won any competitions now outside of the American Cory group, right?
I
Or
mean,
has she?
did America win anything?
Blue hasn't
There
won
I
Got
go.
anything.
second in a lot of stuff. She has
She
not
got-
won.
I thought she won one veto.
Blue hasn't won
I don't
anything,
remember.
Ovi.
But I mean, yeah, it's when you say it's a lot of competition piece, it's the same. It's the
No one stood a chance against Matt in the ball pit. I didn't know it was the ball pit. That was my suspicion, but it could have been like the slide puzzle that Ian did. It could have been the one Matt wins later, which is a little bit more equitable.
muscular male. I mean, it's just so ridiculous how it has become so physical. And I know
Yeah, the
almost
second
every
veto
podcast
was a
has talked
joke.
about this, so we don't need to harp on it anymore. But let
Yeah,
me just say for the record, production, you screwed it up. So. Now I have one more thing for this rule before I move on. I don't know about you, but it might or might not have been important, but it actually relates to what we were just talking about, because on Tuesday's episode,
Ovi's a feeder.
we saw
For sure.
the veto competition, and America wondered to us, do I really need to win this? Probably not.
You also have to understand,
And
the
then
purpose
she
of
let
this
go to fall
podcast
off.
is for them to pick everything
Now,
apart.
Jag and Blue held on for a lot longer, so it is very possible she wouldn't have won anyway. But I wonder if deep down, this is part of what she's been apologizing to Cory for without telling him. Like, I'm sorry,
all
I'm sorry. This
all
is my
BB
fault.
House guests refresh
Knowing-
Spoiler Girl's Twitter before
Yeah,
the
I
season.
also
Like
purposely fell off when I.
you're very desperate for any semblance
I mean,
of
yeah,
information,
that's
even if
actually a really
most of
good
it's
point. I didn't even
bullshit.
think about that part of it. I think that was the issue, is that at some point, like, you need to win competitions, especially vetoes. I don't think at this stage of the game you should be throwing vetoes when you are in a showman's,
Mhm.
one. And two, you're already at the end there. You can still play for veto week in and week out.
We'll go
HOH is one of
1.5
the ones
speed.
that I still
See
would
if it's
argue that
manageable.
important to win. The only person who probably doesn't need to win in HOH at this point is like Bowie Jane, because I don't think she's in danger of it, but she might want to win the game, so she might want
Yeah.
to win in HOH. But I think in those situations, we just saw that, like you said, I think the whole basis of this rule for us, we kind of covered, this is probably our longest segment we've ever had for rule number 2. What I think is that they overplayed in so many times that they really didn't need to as a showman's, but underplayed at points when they really needed those. They needed some clutch, crucial moments, and he didn't have that.
Yeah, and it probably is the longest for rule 2, because we were basically talking about 2 people. Now we can, kind of flip and go back to the first rule, which is of course the scheme and plot. And you just said, I mean, we just got to talk about them overdoing it, or at least being seen as overdoing it. We obviously know they did, or he did indeed scheme. Not nearly as much as people thought, but he was fully capable of it. I think the best single example of this was when he flipped the house against Izzy, went toe-to-toe with Jared to expose all his lies and alliances. And then, as he told Mike Bloom, literally the next week, Jared won HOH, and I was able to make it through that with all the relationships I had formed. So he really did an excellent job there. We thought Jared was, or at least I thought Jared was going to come right back at him and knock him out. And instead, Jared was like, nah, it's okay, you're good.
Yeah, no, we saw Cory really go
I think this was good by me to have Jag take me off the block, but also, like, they were just targeting Cameron. Like, I don't think I did amazing work to make Jared not target me. I think he just always underestimated me, and Cam was a big threat too. I wouldn't give myself too much credit for this. Getting Jag to use it on me over America, that was very active work by me, but it also wasn't that important, probably.
toe-to-toe. And what I loved about Cory was he wasn't really scared of confrontation. He didn't mind
You think
confrontation.
this
but he
season
just
sucks,
didn't
BB is
do it.
doomed?
He didn't see
No,
it
I
was
don't.
usable, and like
Most
you
seasons
utilize
suck.
it. It didn't matter, right? We had that
It'll be
whole
fun.
time with was it Felicia basically going railing in? Was it Felicia?
Oh, right, yeah. Felicia
Yes,
railing at him, and he's
Alexia,
like,
it was
I'm
great.
just not going
He has
to
his bathrobe. Yeah, he
Yeah, I'm
chose
not
his
going to get
battles.
sucked into this. If you want to come play pool, we'll
Yeah,
play pool,
exactly. But we saw him hold his ground against Jared when he was like, "Hey, these are lies you're telling. I need to ensure that your lies are shown to the whole, game." And I think that works really well when you have people around you who trust.
If I was on the
you,
block
rational,
against Cam, I think I would have been
arguments.
fine.
But when in a house, when
Would have been a little
it's one of those
sketchy,
things where, like, even if the house knows the truth, they're not going to believe it.
I
They're
think I
going
would
to,
have
like,
been
they're going to choose it because it's not better for their game. So the truth doesn't matter, right? In the game of Big Brother, all that matters is that what helps your level of gamemanship go to the next level. And so we just saw Cory try to scheme and plot in many ways, which it was, like you said, beneficial to him. But many times it was him kind of going against a wall that wasn't going to move.
Yeah,
He could have easily flipped the vote, but like you have to understand, like, okay, they take off America, then I have America, Jag, Matt, Bowie as 4 votes. Those votes are not going anywhere. You know what I mean? And then, like, I need one more. Mimi and Felicia are not going to bat for Cam like that. I just don't buy it. At that point, like, there's, like, Felicia hated Suri at that point, and they heal throughout the season a little bit. I don't think Mimi votes me out over Cam. It just doesn't happen.
I mean, I think I could say in general he did well here. Earlier in the game, he kept trying to, kind of stay in the middle so as not to rock the boat. And he did get himself in with a number of different allies. He, tried in vain to get people to stick to the plan when the house was in a flip-flopping tizzy in the beginning weeks. But he never fought so hard as to get himself in real trouble. But a couple problems arose. One, we already mentioned, he was seen as over-scheming far more than he actually was. The other was that as America and Cory got more serious, he didn't have his head in the game and therefore didn't quite realize what other people thought of him. And things only got worse after the zombie twist because he kind of just went along with the TV schedule. There's not going to be a vote this week. I don't need to do. And he just sits back. And
yeah, it was that, and I was also a little bit dejected.
I mentioned he had said that to a couple of the HOH.
Sure, never gave up, but she was over it.
In his brother Zach's recent interview with Rob, he said that Cory with a very clear goal is good at making it happen, but when he doesn't have one, he goes all over the place.
Yeah, I'm not good at playing from the top. Clearly, I'm better at playing like in the middle.
The house, he made it happen.
Not at the bottom. Bottom's hard, but like if I'm in an okay position, I can do well. It's hard playing. Yeah, I mean, from the front.
We just saw that. I think it's a really good way you put it. Like, I didn't get to see that interview where he needs to have a goal in mind. I think we saw that a lot. We saw that fire in him for different times, especially in the beginning game. But I think we saw a bit of a tired.
Well, I was dejected because of zombie week. Like having Cam and Jerry come back was so tough.
Such a mental toll on you. And again,
we're
I don't
making Jury
keep harping on the fact of this, but I think when you're younger, right, you have a lot of life experience to kind of back, yourself.
Yeah, I want to watch it.
When you're older.
Yes. Oh yeah, when you're older, you have those situations, but when you're younger, you don't. So when you're younger, I feel like there's a lot of less stressful situations usually that you have had to have in your life that you can always draw upon. When you're older, I think most people, the life experience comes with that ability to be like, you know what, it's bad now. But
I had 3 weeks of slop in 6 weeks, which was bad. But
really find a level house and remember that, like, hey, there's an end to the end.
It was more the stress. It was more the stress of the house than anything else.
Focusing. It's a social experiment. That's the reality of it. When you're there for 1/3 of the year, essentially, your mind.
I have not stuff was bad, but it wasn't
so long. It's a social experiment, and so I think for Cory, we just kind of saw that get to him by this time because he was in there for so long.
Yeah, I have some more thoughts on that in a different rule, but yes, absolutely. Now, one particular place that even Cory acknowledges he went wrong in terms of scheming was in the Nicole versus Felicia vote. He should have wanted Felicia out for a number of reasons, not least of which was no matter how much he helped her, she always wanted him gone. Plus, as he noted in post-game interviews, keeping Mimi would have had a more threatening person in the house to shield him somewhat, but he thought it would be good to save Felicia, so he started having conversations, and in his mind, he convinced everyone. What really happened was Matt, Jag, and Cameron realized it was bad for him, so they pretended that, oh my gosh, you convinced us. Yeah, oh my gosh.
I think this is wrong. Like, so when I had that conversation in the HOH room with Jag, Matt, Cameron, I thought all of us were tricking Cameron. I didn't think I was convincing Matt and Jag. And I think basically it ended up like I thought I was convincing Cameron, and Cameron thought he was convincing me, and it didn't really fucking matter. But like No, but I don't think you guys understand what I'm saying. Like, Jag never convinced me to vote out Mimi. I came to that conclusion by myself, and it was a bad conclusion. It was wrong, right? Like that was. So these are separate. Like you guys saw that on the feeds. They were trying to convince me, trying to figure out how to convince me, and then I came to them just with the idea on my own, making their lives easier. Then we all go into the HOH room with the goal of convincing Cam. What I didn't know is they already talked to Cam about it. So, I guess you could say they tricked me in that sense, but who fucking, it all didn't matter that much, you know what I mean?
Gosh, we're on your board. Perhaps even funnier was that Cory wanted to make sure Felicia knew how much Blue pushed to get her out, and that he basically saved her, and even that, for the second time saving Felicia, would not change her mind about him.
No, I mean, they were dead set.
That was crazy.
And again, that's what I say is that when you're scheming and plotting, you have to be able to play.
And that was probably the biggest reason. I almost forgot about this because I'm getting back in the headspace. The biggest reason I wanted Mimi out was because Blue was desperate to keep Mimi. And I was like, are they a fucking duo? I was like, what the fuck's happening? Like, why? What is happening? So I was like, okay, we get rid of Mimi. Felicia's going to be mad at Blue because I'm going to reveal it to Felicia. But involving Felicia in any of these plans is always a bad thing. And Blue is so transparent trying to keep Mimi.
Other people, but at the same perspective of other people, right? There's no point of trying to convince them of rational and logical decisions if they're not willing to accept that. They're not willing to see that, hey, this is how the game board looks right now. This is how the game pieces are going to move, and this is how I'm going to move to support you. And like, oh no, you're going to go in a zigzag. That move doesn't. That piece can't move like that. You know, they don't want to accept that. And again, I'm not saying that as a way that Cory is the end all be all and knowledge of it, but there are so many situations, objectively speaking, that you have mentioned multiple times where we see Cory has been in a good way that would benefit both their games and is benefiting both their games. But the other house guests decides to ignore that.
Yeah. Now, one final thing.
It was with Felicia a lot.
Is his situation relative to Bowie Jane. Now, Taryn has talked about this several times recently in different podcasts, but basically in Cory's mind, he was solid with Bowie Jane. In her mind, not so much. The two had very different opinions on where they stood, and it goes back to what you just said about.
I'll tell you what, like, I overestimated my relationship with Bowie Jane, but it's like if I won HOHs, Bowie would have been with me. You know, like I think that was the bigger factor than anything else.
Perspective. He
Like-
thought they were one way. She thought
Like I don't
they were
think
another.
Bowie was
He
never gonna
thought-
target me. I don't believe that. Maybe by the final 6, you know. But it's not like Bowie. Like Bowie was down with
He
me.
wanted her in a final 3. She didn't feel like he'd actually done or said any of those things. And from what we could tell, she's right. He just had a.
I did say that. I did. We did have a final 3. It wasn't that we didn't talk about it enough and validate it and check in a lot. But I talked to her about this a lot.
full misread of the situation there.
Yeah, I think the viewpoint was that Bowie Jane was
Like every time I would bring it up to
in the house,
Bowie, she'd be
honestly,
like, "Yeah,
because of
it's
that,
us. Yeah, when we get to
her
the
a
final
little bit,
5,
she's going to be
okay.
close to her. And I think, I know we joke and have jokes about Bowie Jane, but she is a player in the game in the sense that she's her own person. She's
Right.
going to have her own thoughts. You can't
Bowie
just treat her
wanted
like
Jag to put
she's
me
some,
up.
I mean,
When? Which week? So after initial noms. I don't think Bowie would have targeted me. And maybe this is me being delusional, but I think Bowie wanted Jag to target me. Like, that's good for Bowie. But Bowie targeting me herself, I don't think she would have done it, because I think that would have been a bad move. My plan was to take her to the final 3, and she knew that. And I did have a named final 2 with Bowie.
I mean, Cameron tried that, and look where it got him.
Exactly. I think, if anything, I think Bowie Jane hates the most when lies is one, but also 2 being underestimated. Because
Well, I
in
think
real life,
being underestimated or left out. She
Yeah.
wants to be a part of whatever is happening.
yeah, and I think
No,
that is a
our
very
alliance
interesting
name was our
thing
bumper
all
pool
about,
score.
especially for Bowie Jane.
It was
She's a
always
very
changing.
accomplished, woman outside of that Big Brother house. She has
Right.
a lot of. She's a barrister in her own.
In
Bar-
her 32 years.
in her
Yeah.
32 years, yes, give or take.
Yeah.
But regardless of that, somebody of that pedigree, they're not going to want to feel like they're being left out. Of the
What I'm
situation.
saying is
So
I think
Cory,
Bowie probably, based on what y'all are saying, and I believe you, wanted Jag to target me. If Bowie wins HOH, I don't think she targets me. I really don't. I think and this is the truth, I think for Bowie's game, she wanted Serene Felicia out. I think that was what, like, if she won HOH, that was the plan.
It's one of those tough things. Is at this point, numbers, subtract.
Targeting
somebody
America
who's
at Final
Bowie
6
Jane
was
probably got
bad,
somebody
yeah,
who's going
but-
to be lasting the whole time in the house. But
Her plan was she wanted to get to the end. She didn't want to
Bowie
win.
didn't weigh enough relationships in that with her early off in the game that can be built upon.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, the whole final 3 thing. In his mind,
During
they
her
were-
HOH,
for a
she was
final 3.
considering
In her
putting
mind,
you
it
up.
was like, well,
Really?
maybe,
I don't know. Like,
I
maybe
don't know when that ever happened.
maybe
I
in
mean,
the
heck,
way you
Cole
consider
thought that
everything,
was-
but there's no
Bowie Jane
way,
still didn't
like,
happen, so.
that was going to happen.
All right. We can go to the third rule, which talks about the need to be flexible. Now, I know
She did not have a final 2 with Cameron. We joked about it in the house. That was the non-consensual final
how they
2.
do here. So what are your thoughts on Cory in this regard?
I mean, I think it's tough
Just
because
be
it's such
flexible.
a long game, and I see Cory's game kind of having a 2-parter, pre showmance and an after showmance. And the reason I say that is that I think beforehand his flexibility was really pushed to the driven, pushed to the end, because we saw him being challenged. We saw him how he kind of moved and swayed to the game. I mean, he single-handedly, when I think he should have been the number 1 target that first week when it was those 4 people on the block, he somehow escaped that damage. He had somebody who was literally a powerhouse of Heisem just gunning for him for no reason the first 4 weeks. He gets them out. We have other people, his closest ally, who he feels turns on him, Izzy. He's able to get the knife in their back before they get him. He has made so many moves.
I mean, you're probably
shifts,
right, Sydney, with
different
that.
things, and I think he played that middle for so long, so well, that he was able to, one, create a true friendship before a relationship with America when she was on the other side of the house, essentially, than him. So we see Cory truly navigate the house in a beautiful way.
Okay, I
And then
hear you
the
guys. I
showmance
hear you
happens.
guys.
And again,
Yes.
I'm not saying the showmance is the end of his game, but the issue that happened was then he became, I think it's like real life, right? When you're younger, when you aren't in a relationship, when you're not married, right? You can travel here, you can go here, this and that. But when you have a family dynamic, you got to start planning things months in ahead. When your boys call you up, you can't just say, I want to take a weekend trip with you. You got to figure that out, 3-4 months. Who's going to watch your kids? What's going to happen here? Life changes. And
Yeah, I
think
mean,
that happened
they're right
with
about
Cory,
this.
where
It's really hard to
that's
navigate
what
the
was
game as a
he wasn't playing
duo
for one,
when
but-
people didn't like America.
Yeah.
Navigating
Yeah, that's
as
true. I do
just
think
me
he
was
had
a lot
some
easier.
flexibility problems early. Like he came in planning to play like the little brother who needs help with everything. But that plan changed quickly, and I'm not entirely sure intentionally, when he saw like Serene. And the problem was, whether he was being flexible or not, it changed for the worse, because his knowledge came pouring out, and instead of being the innocent, he was presumed guilty of being sneaky just because he was a super fan. And so, was that flexible?
I think I'm in a lot of trouble no matter what.
I guess you could say he wasn't flexible enough to stick with what his
Being
original
the
plan was,
schemy,
like what
nerdy
happened,
super fan. It's like,
Another example of
it's
him
tough.
not handling
I
flexibility
shouldn't
in the
have-
greatest way was
I
his
don't
reaction
know.
to the zombie twist. Now, don't get me wrong. Cory was definitely screwed by the twist. It sent back in 2 people he wanted out the most. It sucked for many, many reasons. But expect the unexpected. More importantly, when you're a player, deal with the unexpected after it happens. And as we discussed in Rule 1, you can't just sit back and presume you're going to be safe
I
while
think
everyone else is making moves around
they
you. Just because there was a down week when it came to voting doesn't mean
I think they underestimate.
And that is one big part where
like,
being flexible comes
the-
into play. You have to roll with the big brother punches.
They're not underestimating it. It's just like there's a human toll that the twists take, not just a strategic one, you know. And maybe that's just because I'm a little bit weaker and weaker-willed or whatever. But Zombie Week was hard. Like, you guys saw, it was hard on me in a lot of ways.
Yeah, no, I agree, but I do think, I mean, man, when I think about that whole twist, right, really, Cory, it was truly unfortunate that the only other Survivor person there was Sari, who had her son in there. The 1 week where there's a weird twist, a zombie twist where people stay
Production
out.
didn't like you, Cory? I don't think that's true. I think production liked me enough. I think I was not one of their favorites, but I think they liked me.
Was essentially the person
The
who just
twists
had
are
the biggest blow-up
pre-planned,
win, and the
y'all.
person who had,
That's not a thing.
Arguably the biggest advantage coming into the house, it was Jared.
Yeah.
I mean, I still think he showed a lot of flexibility in the way that he tried to maneuver and work with Cameron in ways a little bit. And he wasn't like the happiest. Also,
Production
somebody
did not
who,
like you guys. I've met production and talked to production, and like other people have talked to production. Like we have a good sense of. It's not like they loved Jag. Like I don't want you guys to, you know. Like the competitions they planned, the twists they planned, they're not planned to benefit anyone in particular. They have an effect of benefiting people, of course. But like the people that production loved was very clearly Sari and Cameron. That's obvious. Matt and Jag and them, they're trying to make them as likable as possible for the show, but I got a pretty good at it too. I assume up until the end where I have to become the villain to get evicted, right? Like
truly is really horrible to him and
I think I got a good at
away
it.
from him. You know, I mean, I feel like Cory in those situations showed a level of flexibility far beyond his years, which you would expect somebody
now why would they
to be able to
chaotic
really
like
navigate that whole situation.
I'm a human who can
I don't know,
read
I agree with
situations.
some parts, but I think
Like,
for the most part, I think Cory probably was one of the most flexible.
it's hard to like.
Yeah,
I was in the
we'll have
house
this
and I
discussion.
talked to all these people
All right.
inside and outside the
Well, we
house.
can go to the
like-
4th rule, which says players should not let their emotions control them. And this is an interesting one for Cory because he may be the most objective and logical person on Big Brother ever. You know, as we mentioned
Is that
earlier
right?
throughout the game, he would acknowledge to someone when a game move would be good for someone else and bad for him, or vice
most
versa.
logical player ever. I think I was pretty
he told them
emotional in
he wouldn't make
moments.
a move because they would see it for what it was. You know, like we were talking about earlier.
I was able to
Just
zoom
make
out
them
a lot,
find out.
but-
Don't assume they know. Just make the move, and if they know, oh well. Even
I think I just got
when he was
fatigued
arguing
and
with
I
Sari, he
was
also
more
adding
emotional
in
than logical
disclaimers
towards the end.
about, well, I know you see it this way, and I know this, and you know, I have great respect for you this, and you know, and he'd add in these disclaimers, and he just phrase it a certain way. It went even further in that twice he tried to save, or he helped to save Felicia, even though she was against him. Most people would have allowed their emotions to say, no, I shouldn't
Yeah.
do that. But Cory analyzed the situation, determined it was better for him to keep her. Was it? Not really, but that's not the point. The point was,
Well, okay, that's true. Like I never made decisions based on emotion in terms of like evicting people or targeting people. But Felicia's a special case because like Felicia could do shit to you in the house and it wouldn't sting as much, you know? Like if Jag betrays me or Jared betrays me or even Blue betrays me, that stings more than Felicia. Like I think most people were like, oh, it's Felicia.
you know, okay, he made a poor decision, but he was making logic-based decisions instead of emotional ones.
See, I agree with that. I think, again, it's kind of the before and after, right?
Mhm.
We see of it. I think he was truly kept logical decisions, kept emotion out of his game for the most part, except when it came to that showman's. I think when even the showman's got involved, it became one of those situations where,
Chaotic, I'm timing you out.
Kind of-
I'm over it.
oh, man, I hate to say this, but at points he needed to really set a boundary with him in America. I think it became so overwhelmed seeing
Mhm.
that
Let's
there
see
are a lot
in
of
10
emotions.
minutes.
Emotions are on a full-on spectrum, and when other people see that whole spectrum of emotions right there, they become very wary of you, and it's going to bleed.
I appreciate you, but I'm just gonna give you 10 minutes.
But we saw that he made moves. It seemed like at some point, it wasn't for his. And I hate saying this like this because I feel like I'm putting more of the onus on America versus Cory, and I don't want to go down that route. But I do think America, which I don't fault her for, was playing a lot more individual game while she was in the showman's versus Cory kind of forgave all his individual game components mostly and tried to play a showman's game, and that was basically.
I think that's a ridiculous thing to say. I don't think that's true. I think I just realized the writing on the wall. Like, America and I were a duo. And, like, America was actively working against the duo, and I was working, you know, like, I think this is a bad take, but...
Mostly for his emotional connection he had with America. So
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm kind of at a weird point where I'm like...
I was playing as a duo because we were a duo. Because the thing is, like, America could survive the block against me, I couldn't. You know, like
he was very controlled and logical with his emotions, but when the showmans came in play,
Yeah, I think that there were. It's interesting what you say about America continued to play her individual game, which ended up, hurting her. But I still think he kept his logic and objectivity. Just it wasn't always there. So, for example, after he and America were nominated, he had been saying
can you elaborate, Kyle,
and
on
to
what you're
America
saying?
ahead of time that if Jag had been smart, he would have nominated them. He knew it was the right move. So when Jag did it, Cory reacted calmly and rationally and went to talk to him. And in his interviews and everything else, he has said, yes, it was the right move. I was going after them next time. So it was absolutely right. And yes, I mentioned earlier, it was fun to see America tell Jag and Matt to literally F off, but that's not who Cory is. Cory is never going to react that way.
Why do you think
However,
you get targeted
like,
over America? I was a bigger threat. In comps and just in general, in the jury, I was a bigger threat, obviously. It wasn't like the biggest difference, but the perception, I think, was even bigger than reality. But in reality, I still was a bigger threat, I think.
His relationship with America showed the negative side of emotions in this game. And
For the first half of the season, they were targeting her over me because they just didn't like
he
her.
did not come in his wildest dreams, I don't think, expecting to get into a showman's. And the more
E-boy,
time he
she-girl.
spent
I mean, I talked about that in my,
game.
my
He said in a
express
camera talk to us this week, he got greedy thinking he could focus on both the game and the showman's. And yeah, that's what landed the two of them on the block together and put him in a spot where he didn't feel like he could really campaign against her. He told Matt, I do care more about America than I do about the
Okay, well, that was strategy. Do I care more about America than the game? Yes. Did I at the time? I think so. But you have to understand, like, in that house, if I went balls to the wall and started campaigning against America, I would have been voted out unanimously, and they would have shit-talked my way out the door. Even worse than they did. Like, could you imagine if I was, like, campaigning viciously? Like, I would have become a house pariah. So that was the first part of it. The other part of it is I tried really hard and I couldn't. Like, I think I had the right instinct. When I was trying to save myself, my problem is I needed Suri Felicia Blue, and I thought needed Suri Felicia Bowie. That was a misplay.
And he added to Julie, after being evicted, that he could have done more to really make America feel bad, that she basically told everyone to vote her out, but he wouldn't feel right doing that. And no, he's absolutely right.
At that point, I was
Don't know that
delusional
anyone
about
would
Bowie.
listen to her anyway. Like, let's say she got so bad that she was like, vote me out. I don't think that.
But also, I was like, well, I
yeah,
need Bowie to vote for me to stay, so I might as well be delusional.
Now, as we'll discuss more in the sixth rule, about that situation. But the point is that because of his emotional connection, he eliminated some potential game moves. I'm not saying he should have tossed his girlfriend aside. He clearly and truly believes this relationship has good potential outside the house. And from my point of view, I hope it does, because I think they're a cute couple. I think they're a fun couple.
Thanks, David.
From a life perspective, he made the right decision.
Crazy, I'm in her
My rules
apartment.
are not geared towards a life perspective.
Our
They're a game
apartment,
perspective.
whatever.
And as far as winning the game, he allowed his emotions to cloud his ability to fully do that.
yeah, I mean, again, I think this one will kind of bleed into the next rule, so I don't want to go too much.
I
into
think
that-
we have
that
fine
rule.
edits.
Go ahead.
I'm sure
Well,
I
I
peak
think we
like
gotta
week
give lost
6
time.
through 8.
And by that, I mean is that you have to be on when you're right. When you are in those groups, you need to be able to give face and do what you need to do. The issue is when you spend time, and again, this sounds so cold and calculated, and I don't like coming across like that, but you got to think about lost time.
That's who you are.
If you think about it, when you spend time cuddling with America, that bond is already there. That's good. You're spending less time trying to create more bonds with other people, right? Like the amount of time, because we see.
I think this is the biggest downside of the showmans. I think this is right. You just, like, I didn't need to shore up my America relationship. This is, I think, the biggest problem with the showmans. Because I could have just spent that time hanging out with Blue, hanging out with Matt, hanging out with Felicia,
The level of time they spend together, people see that, and it just detracts from everybody else, and it puts such a viewpoint. You can't play the social game as well, is what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah,
Is that-
and you are going into, we should have said this when I said, oh yeah, go ahead. We are moving into the fifth rule, which says players need to pretend to be nice and play the social game. So yeah, go ahead.
Exactly. No, see, and I think Cory played a really good social game in a lot of ways. Even, I mean, I'm not going to put the things that people already have against him that he can't.
I think my
control,
social
right?
game is
I don't think
good.
it's fair for me to hold that against him for that.
I
Like,
think
you can
every
change
single
games.
person walked away from Big Brother 25 liking me except Cameron. And Matt. And no Blue, but like me and Blue vibed in the jury house. Like, I don't think Blue hated me as a person. Our games never lined up, but I think everyone else walked away liking me. Yeah, I do think Blue.
The show because he starts spending so much time with America on your downtime, right? Like again, it's like, oh, this is not game time, it's downtime, but every time is game
Right.
time. It's not during competitions, it's not just pivotal moments when the veto competition is there, but it would be like when the nomination.
Yeah, I don't think Felicia ever hated me. She was always anti-me game-wise, but I think Felicia liked me. I was her fly guy.
Were already stuck in there. The veto's been not used or not in past weeks. Then he would take the engine off a little bit. He would spend time with America because he's like, okay, I have a little break. The issue is when you do that, other relationships are forming back in the back house, and they're watching you two become something that they don't like, and so your ability to play a social game really dwindles.
Yeah, it's not like you're a football player who only has certain games.
Maybe Heisen too.
You can spend the rest of your time with the pop.
I think Heisen likes me now. But
you can
right after the season, maybe not.
This is 24/7 in this game, and with that said, I do think he was well liked by almost everyone in the game on a social level. Even Jag practically professed his love for Cory in the goodbye message after blindsiding him out. But there was always that level of suspicion around him, and that altered people's perceptions of him. When he would do something nice, people would be like, oh, he's just doing that for game reasons. You mentioned it with Nicole earlier.
Yeah,
he would do something and she'd be like, oh, I know why he's doing that.
Well, look, when I blindside someone or whatever, for a minute, they're mad at me.
Underpinnings of what he'd say. When he'd joke around, they took him seriously. There's a whole alliance that has been discussed in this house that never existed because he made a joke about it.
Yo, the middleman is such a misunderstanding.
Like that.
And that was not a joke. That was me trying to cover my own ass in case I read leaked something.
And so, it just happened. And not the funny thing. The thing is, this even extends like...
It wasn't good for... It actually kind of ended up being okay for my game.
I don't understand.
But...
I don't understand.
It was not really a joke.
Maybe there's a lot of...
There was an intention behind it.
Diagram.
I didn't expect it to spiral out of control like that.
He played the game. He was a nice guy. He treated his girlfriend well. He was funny. He was sarcastic in a good way. I don't get it other than to say haters gonna hate. Now, perceptions outside the game don't matter to these rules anyway, but I was just trying to figure out if anything that the people outside the game could have been perceived by players within the game, and I just don't see it.
Yeah, no, it is strange. That's kind of a two-parter right there, where yes, you have these people out here who kind of dislike Cory for really no benign reason. He's been truly one of our most inoffensive house guests by far. Not just this season, but we've had it in a long time. I mean, he has called out his own allies. I still remember when it was him, and he was working with Cameron at that point, and I don't remember which week it would have been. Might have been week 8 or so, where Cameron just starts talking some mess about, I think it was Nicole, and he's like, well, let's not talk. You don't need to talk about her like that. Like, he called out people from, and so here's the thing is that, like, one, I don't know why he has as many haters as he does out there. I just think people...
It's super weird with Cameron, because like, he was so careful about what he said, but when it came to Mimi and Felicia, it just went out the window.
It's points. We both know that.
I don't know why. Like Felicia, like, I guess they were beefing all season and whatever, and what was his problem with Mimi? And I know what you guys are going to say, and you guys might be right, but it was so odd. Like, Mimi is so inoffensive. Like, especially in the house. Like,
and, you can look at David's TikTok post, and you can go into comments. You can find the fan in there.
Yeah,
and
some of them. Some I just delete. Yeah, but yeah.
But I think in the social element here, like you said, and we kind of go back all the way back in there, in the beginning segment where we talk about rule number 2, is just that people had just a view of Cory that no matter what.
What could it be?
So many ways. I mean, he truly played a game where he didn't have to pretend to be nice. I mean, he was just a nice guy. I mean, we talked about this, I think, almost in comparison to Taylor Hale last season, where we're like,
people don't like me because it's Big Brother.
Right person. And I think Cory,
and I was a house guest.
Cory's a very nice guy, and I mean that in the best way.
That's why.
He is a very much deeper than that. And in the house, in the game, he kind of conducted himself in a way, and it was kind of a level. He's like, I'm not going to stoop down to this level, and I'm going to try to make everything logical and rational. The issue is, how does that translate into social game? And people viewed him, and this is the big issue, right? People viewed Cory as pretending to be nice versus being nice, because they're like, you're not going to do this without an ulterior motive. Versus Cory's like, nah, I just want to play a fun game.
Crazy,
yeah. I mean, that's perfect.
When I was being evicted, I was like, fuck these guys. I'm drinking all their Gatorade.
In a camera talk this week,
I was going to pour it all out.
I believe his brother Zach said similarly when he was recently a guest on Rob's podcast, and this goes back to something you said earlier, and I said, oh, I've got something about this in a later one. Cory isn't typically this social of a person. And Cory specifically said he doesn't have it in him to deal with people all the time, and he'd rather be alone. And so, like you said, this game has gone on for 2 months.
I'm pretty proud of myself. I think I overachieved quite a bit.
People needing to work to be social for months on end.
This is hard.
It's no wonder he took a pause during Zombie Week.
Even in the jury, I was not willing to go into activities.
Because we already discussed that.
I was just so over it.
He was working a lot harder to be sociable than I think some of the other people needed to. He's a nice guy, but nice and sociable are not.
Yeah, it's like one of these things, like, you don't give me credit for this, because, like, just because I overcame being more introverted doesn't make me a better player. But I think it explains a little bit more about how my gameplay was kind of on and off.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's a good point we put together. The game is so long, and I think for Cory, right? You got some unusual hits in this game.
Ryan, by the way, congrats.
Not just Zombie Week, but you found out that you guys think you're making jury, right? Yeah. And then boom, you're not making jury. It's going to be a shortened jury. That just adds a whole level of stress for it. I know there's people who are going to be crying like, yes. And I wish I do like that.
This was so tough
make
for me.
These house guests work for it. Right. But I also think that once you get to
and it's funny because like I didn't
that's just such
care that much about making jury. Like
so hard.
Making jury was not the end all be all, but when we got this far, still
I don't know something. I'm sorry for
it was just brutal to get that far and still not be there.
Suddenly there was a thumbs up, And then this time he said something that was a thumbs down. So I don't know. Apparently the recording website that we use has
Decided to commentate. Amazing.
I know,
Ryan.
it's wild. And the week before that, we had fireworks before my head.
Yes.
I just, sorry, weird tangent, but this is happening just only once each time, every time we record weekend, and only on me, and not you, David.
Yeah, and I don't think I could do this if I wanted to. I don't.
America wants to spill out the milk.
Anyway,
Funny.
it's funny.
Yeah.
Are you and Jared on good terms? Yeah.
Well, thank you. Our recording.
And we don't talk
website
really,
for
but
I think they were disagreeing with me actually on that one. But I think that sorry, my train of thought. Back to it though.
Last time I hung out with Jared, he was
long, right, and you have jury not told to you when it's
mostly arguing about the game, but that's always been our dynamic.
You have zombie week. Basically, you're two people you really want out of the house, and one person you individually essentially orchestrated to get out of the house are now.
But I haven't talked to him since that week.
It just takes
like it's been months.
To emphasize the point you were making prior to this is that at some point you get tired and
let's not go back to that night. I didn't even see the tweet till I was back. Unfortunately,
that was for Cory.
Yeah. All right, well, we can go to the sixth rule, which warns against being too much of a threat. And to cut to the chase, Cory was the biggest threat to Jag and Matt. He knew it. They knew it. They even discussed it, like we said. They just had different ideas about when they would go after each other. One thing we've talked about and seen before on Big Brother, and even more on Survivor, is the question of when one threat should go after another threat. You don't want to do it too soon, because then the threat dominoes start and you could be next. You don't want to wait too long, or someone else will get the jump and take you out. In Big Brother, it's a little different if you are specifically a comp threat because of the way the game favors such people, especially this season. But all of this was kind of hanging in the air this week. Once Cameron was gone, it was a question of what would happen next. At first, it appeared they'd all work together to get rid of Blue, and Jag wanted to keep Cory and America around so people would focus on them instead of him and Matt. As he said, the whole house was anti-Cory. Remember, this was the same person who said he was in with everybody. So it was better to keep Cory, he said. But then America inexplicably did what she did, and it made Jag and Matt realize that they needed to move first. We don't know for sure, as I mentioned, that Jag...
You can find us somewhere, Kyle. I don't want to relitigate this.
He and Matt knew it had to happen soon. It was always just a matter of timing.
What's up, Kale?
Yeah, and I think it even goes back prior to them, right? We see Jared really focusing on Cory because he's like, oh, I don't trust Cory. And then he's like, oh, he's in a showman's, where Cory already had a huge threat on his head from the beginning of the game, and it continues so. And then you add America into it. I mean, it was so big that the other showmans in the house, no one really cared too much about Jared and Blue to target them. I mean, they got targeted, but mostly for Jared, not the showmans itself.
Right.
They didn't even try working together to be like, oh, we have showmans should work. No, they thought they were such a threat.
I mean, they weren't even trying to split up Me and America until the final 7.
When,
so, like...
they haven't won a competition barely.
I don't think we were...
competition wins are very small. I think they have one win together or 2 wins. And ultimately in a house where you have people winning back to back to back to back.
Just one.
Interesting choices. So
yeah. I mean,
So it's not like Matt and Jag decided to strike against us before we struck against them. Like, we didn't have the chance to strike against them. The plan, I don't know if I've even talked about this. The plan was always put up Matt and Jag and then take Jag off the block. Convince whoever won the veto. If it was Jag, that's perfect. He probably would have won anyways. But then take Jag off the block and put up Suri. Was the plan. That was the only way I could see. Because I wanted Matt gone, and I thought that was the only way to do it. Because I was just doing the math, and I was like, okay, how the fuck do I get the votes to get rid of Matt? The only person I could come up with was Suri. Just think about it. Think about it. Final 8. Final 8, 2 people are nominated, there's an HOH, there's 5 votes, you need 3. You put up Matt and Suri, Jag votes to keep Matt, Bowie votes to keep Matt, but then you have Blue, Felicia, America. It's very interesting. But if Jag's there against Matt, Matt goes home. And I would have basically talked to Jag and been like, look, I'm targeting Matt. I don't trust Matt. Literally, I want to go unreliable. It's final 3. No matter what, you're staying. And he, he still probably would have targeted me, but that was the plan. But I think that was the right play. Suri would have fallen on her sword for Matt. I don't believe so. Jag really missed it, y'all. No, Jag was my biggest asset in the game at that point. I know, like, he's the one who betrayed me ultimately, but, like, that was my best bet. And Matt was the bigger problem for me. But Jag wins the veto. But yeah, Jag winning the veto would have been good there. But getting Jag out there doesn't do anything for me, because then it's just Matt, Suri, Blue. Like, I need to get Matt out, and because I put up Matt and Felicia, I think Suri, like, here's the thing. Suri would have had to go up against Matt, because otherwise, Suri would have saved Matt with her vote. So it would have always been Suri, Jag, and Bowie voting to keep Matt against anyone else. I think Suri would save Matt over Blue, over Felicia. So I needed Suri on the block, And I think Suri would fight to get Blue and Felicia's vote, and she would have been able to. Because I think at that point they were closer to Suri. It was kind of genius. Like I was really thinking about it, like, because I didn't sleep at night, and I was like, this would be the play. Jag, Matt, Noms to basically backdoor Suri to get Matt out. And you have to nominate Jag, because if Jag wins the veto, he would take off Matt. So you need to nominate him.
And like you said, Cory being seen as a threat was nothing new. It has been going on.
Jag wins regardless.
He wasn't seen as the immediate threat compared to others. So
Probably.
kind of like you said with the comps, that was it
I
kind
don't
of
know.
like
He couldn't win final
the
5
low
HOH then.
mid-level threat that was always there. Kind of like when there's some buzzing in where you live, and eventually you get used to it in the background. But then eventually you're like, my God, what is that buzzing noise? We've got to get rid of it. And so when Jag claimed he'd been protecting Cory, I don't see it that way at all. They were all working together to get rid of other people, some of whom were threats to all of their games, like Cameron. But nobody ever forgot about Cory. And when this week came, it wasn't just Jag who pounced. Suri was pushing things as well to get those two pairs going against each other, while she just keeps sneaking forward. She also was telling Matt about how Cory was so much more dangerous than she is, for example, and America has been using him as a shield, etc. Cory hurt his own cause by consistently insisting to everyone that the final competitions tended to be more mental. One, this is wrong. Taryn has repeated numerous times why.
I've already talked about why I did
if you're
this.
thinking seasons ago.
This is pretty goofy, but
if you're looking recent, it's wrong.
It wasn't careless. It was just dumb.
Is seen as more intelligent and less physical. Tell people that the late game comps are more intelligence-based and less physical. It doesn't make any. Yeah, it goes back to what I said before about him.
I can explain it, but it doesn't.
And don't do it.
So it's like, it wasn't great.
Ironically,
right?
his truth was actually false.
Because that was also something that Felicia was talking about the entire first half of the game.
It was just that everything they had a perspective of him.
I thought it was like an issue
he was a mastermind, and he never said he was a mastermind, but he just never tried to really ultimately play it down as much as he should have within this house. Right. I think any logical, rational person
explain it, please.
All right,
there's two factors. Number one, Felicia was targeting me like week 3 because I was going to win all the mental late game comps, and that was spreading around the house at that point. Everyone was talking about that. Stupid, but whatever. And then Jag and Matt were getting fucking pissed off at me because I wasn't winning comp. Me and America weren't winning anything. And they're like, oh, we could drag these motherfuckers to the end. So I'm like, oh, well, I'll win comps to protect you guys towards the end. Those were the two pieces. Ultimately, it didn't matter.
Let's look at this stuff here and there.
It wasn't good, but that was a lot.
Maybe America might be a bigger threat than Cory beforehand, but they still viewed Cory as that person versus him being an ally for him. That was a big issue, is that they couldn't create some form of trust with him because his individual game was they haven't seen it for a long time. They're just tied to America. So I think also one of the concerns was, if we get America out, does Cory come try raging with us? Do we have any allies? It was really a toss-up. And it comes down to the ultimate thing is that if you're not able to make yourself look less of a threat, and also if you're not able to, or you're wanting to make the person next to you a bigger threat, you really are in a no man's land. You then kind of give away any autonomy of your game this last week, which he kind of did in that situation because he's not campaigning against America. He's not trying to lower his threat level very much. So you just have.
I was campaigning against America. I don't know. I felt like I was campaigning a lot. I wasn't getting personal about her, obviously, because first of all, that'd be bad campaigning. But I thought I campaigned a lot more than most people campaigned in the house.
Have to wait and hope it's a flip of a coin.
Yeah. All right, well, we can go to the 7th rule, which says to trust almost nobody. Cory obviously trusted America, which, he should, given the
campaigning against her would have been really bad
for her to stop
me.
Trusting the wrong people, and she never did. More to the point of Cory himself.
Like if I was mean,
trusted people to think logically like he did.
They would not have.
Was a problem. Most people, like it or not, most people don't weigh two sides of an issue like it's a debating team score. Most don't talk everything through, even though it could end up hurting them. Most don't put aside their emotions and objectively walk.
Like they would have just antagonized.
People did these things. Social media and the world in general would be a very different and better place. But they don't. And especially in a game, especially in the Big Brother house, you cannot trust people to do what's best, sometimes even for themselves. I mean, Cory saw that even in the last few days. He was working a plan that would help Suri and Felicia. But Felicia was so anti-Cory that she ruined it by revealing it to Bowie Jane. That's what led to the whole crying thing. Suria's over here going, oh my God, Felicia, what are you doing? And Felicia's
making
like,
Bowie cry.
He's gonna lie. He's lying. And it's like, he was lying to help you in the future.
I think Bowie might come to Nashville soon.
Sometimes, no matter what you do, you just can't help other people.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to is that you have to be able to play the same board game. Like, the board has to be the same.
I don't know what the fuck Matt's talking about, because I didn't even fucking campaign to Matt. Did I ever try to get Matt's vote? Or did he just hear from Bowie, I guess, right?
for each person to be able to
I don't think
connect
I
with
ever
them
campaigned to
rationally.
Matt.
With Big Brother,
Like on the
you don't
hammock,
expect
like
them
I
to be out, so
talked,
it doesn't
I
matter how you
talked it out
rationalize
with him,
them.
but
If they are playing a different board game, if they're playing the game of life, that board game versus your game,
I basically told him I was targeting him and
in some
Jack.
ways, and it might be impossible to figure out what game they might be playing, and that's the
Yes.
hardest thing. I think for me, I remember during my time, I found it so frustrating because I think for me, I was trying to base some of my moves on what somebody else would rationally see, and it would be what would be best in their benefit. But you forget that Big Brother.
Oh, just that first convo right after?
People
That's
from
okay,
different
well.
perspectives where they might not play the game rationally, they might play the game emotionally, or it's just a different game of yours. So it comes to conflict to figure out what's the best thing to do forward. That happened right here for him because when he wants to trust people with this information, it has to also be understood that they're going to feel expected.
You campaigned to him and said you'd win against America for the same reason you're getting evicted, and he was convinced you were a horrible person for that? I don't know what you're saying. You campaigned to him and said you'd win against America for the same reason you're getting evicted. Oh, like, because people perceive me as a better player and a bigger threat?
Beneficial for them, and that was something that wasn't the case. He would have probably been better to trust literally nobody than trust the people he did.
Yes, yes. All right, next up is Appendix A, which discusses the jury phase. What are your thoughts here for...
I think I would have done great
the jury and how that will
with the jury.
impact the end of the game here.
You know, I think it's for the silver lining of it. I think that we talked about Cameron being the first jury member, right?
Yeah.
And we were like, I wonder how much he's going to influence the jury. And I don't think he's going to influence the jury too much. And I think more than anything, I think Cory now being the stopgate there, I think he's going to be a very good, rational, logical head to help steer jury conversations in the future. I imagine that he won't be bitter. I really don't think so. I think
Right, I agree.
I really think he would vote for anybody up there if they give the right argument. But I do think that he might be biased towards America, obviously.
Oh, I think if
Cam
America gets there,
influence anyone.
I
Cam was very pro-Jag from the start, and I came in pro-Matt. And I was annoyed when Matt gave goodbye messages because I was flipping towards Jag because of that, and I think I didn't want it to seem like Cam was flipping me, you know? But no one's listening to Cam.
that is the one place he will not be completely objective. If America gets there, I mean, she has his vote no matter what.
Yeah, I agree. So, but I do think this is a plus in Jag and Matt's hat. I think he's going to view them as that person. I think maybe also
Matt had
jury
America's
members,
back.
I think would give a little bit more credence to Cerise's game. Because here's the thing is, I think a lot of them have viewed Cerise as a really great mastermind in a lot of ways, but I worry that they might view Jag and Matt as the heroes of the second half of the game because they have dominated and played versus Cerise,
Yeah, leaving the house, I was going to vote for Matt or Jag over Suri.
who has really, from our perspective, now in a really tricky situation, but it might not translate as well to the other jury members, but I wonder if Cory can advocate for that. Long story short, I don't think Cory
It's almost over.
No, I agree with you 100%. I do think it's interesting because he said, in some of his camera talking, he talked about Jag. And it seems like he's talking, Jag and Matt. And it's like, why aren't you talking about Cerise? Cerise is the person you should see of all people. Now, maybe in his downtime, he will more come to realize that. Obviously, I don't think Matt and Jag will both make it to the end together. So that, will be interesting if it's like a Cerise and Jag or a Cerise and Matt.
I think you're too high on 21
so
fuzzy, but
I hope
otherwise,
that he
I
will
think your list is good.
come to his senses and favor Cerise.
21 was just so icky and not likable,
so,
and
yeah,
not
we'll
that
just have
fun to
see, but
watch.
you're right.
As a result,
What was I going to say? He is going to be that wall between Cameron and everyone else. And so, hopefully won't let Cameron poison everyone. So with that in mind, it is time to wrap things up here. What are
I
your
don't know
final
why
thoughts
they
on
thought
the board?
Cameron would have
I think
influence.
Cory was very fun to watch. I think he was really impressive to see a young guy go into the Big Brother house, navigate it how he did, and be in some hard, tricky situations and make it out. I'm really proud of the way he played the game, and I do think that he does well. I mean, he's one of those players that if you get them past the first 2 weeks, I think he does a really good way playing the game. Would I like to see him play maybe outside of a showman's? Yes. Did he make mistakes in the game that really kind of took him down? Yes, but there really wasn't one specific mistake we can point out. It was a culmination of multiple things, and I don't think it makes him out to be a bad Big Brother player. I think he's a good Big Brother player, and if anything, I think if Cory was one of the people to return to the house, give him a couple more years of experience, I could see Cory making it to the final 2. Really impressed with the way he played, but at the end of the day, I do think we saw a stark difference between his before game when he was an individual player
I
and
get
the
that.
showman's game, and ultimately, I think that is what led to him being evicted.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Cory was a very fun player who I hope comes back again. He was a fan with strategy, game knowledge, humor, sarcasm, and it turned out even a love life. But he was also immediately seen as being the schemer archetype. No matter what he did, there were certain people in the house who assumed he was up to something. We don't know what, but something.
I'll tell you what, I think there is a big reason why I lost that's not mentioned, and it's twists. Like, just objectively, like the double veto really just is the reason I lost. I would have lost the next week probably, but
And once again, people got it into their heads that he was a sneaky mastermind. And when that happened, they started ascribing all sorts of conspiracies to him. Kind of like some fans do with Big Brother overall, actually. Was Cory over-scheming? Not nearly as much as others thought. But he was perceived that way from the beginning, and it stuck, no matter what he did. Sometimes people thought the whole house was against him for it. Sometimes they thought he was with everyone. Sometimes they somehow thought both simultaneously. Cory certainly strategized and made some big moves. But he was also over honest, which worked against him because people knew what he was thinking, and he helped to clarify to them what they should be thinking. Part of that was they should be thinking of getting him out before he
The one thing I'll say is I think the power of invincibility was good for me,
got them. Still,
which I think you guys might disagree with, but I needed Jag. Like, I couldn't play the game without Jag. It just wouldn't have
She'd
worked.
had issues before, but she had all
I don't know how else
this
I
time
break
would be different,
the
as it turned the light on in Jag and Matt's heads and made
power
them realize
structure.
this was the time to strike. As we
If
discussed,
Red's
they have
there,
realized
you
it
know.
anyway. Maybe, probably. We'll never know for sure. We know it happened, and that appeared to be the final straw. But there was already a lot going on beforehand to set up the situation where it could happen. Cory was seen as an overschemer, a snake, since the very beginning of the game. Despite the passage of 2.5 months, he was still seen that way. He just couldn't get out of that cliche
Yes,
image
Kyle.
that some people had of him. And part of the reason was, I'm not sure he really tried, and some things he did reinforced it, even as he was actually doing the opposite. Part of doing the opposite was being so honest, including even to people he knew he'd be targeting. To him, it was setting up a game board. To them, it was announcing
Matt
his
being the
intentions
savior was the
so they could
problem.
strike
Yeah,
first.
but
And that's exactly
still.
what happened. He planned to go after them next week, but they beat him to the punch because he or America, or a combination of both, telegraphed their move. As I said earlier, it's always difficult to figure out when one threat should go against another. But for all his strategy, Cory made it just a little too easy for Matt and Jag. And that is why Cory lost.
Well played as always, David.
Well, thank you. All right, well, before we continue into our spoiler-free predictions, remember that if you want all of our spoilery, full thoughts, and bluntness and everything else, fun ideas, we are all over social media.
Yes, we are. You can find me talking about Big Brother and so many other topics on Twitter at the OVKabir. On Instagram, I'm at OVKabir. On TikTok, on TikTok, I'm at Basmati Boy. And David is truly all over the place. You can track him down in a number of ways, but most easily you can go to his Linktree at Linktree/David Bloomberg.
I missed the last 5 seconds. My
For
headphones
all
died.
the cliche image that some people had of him. And part of the reason was, I'm not sure he really tried, and some things he did reinforced it, even as he was actually doing the opposite. Part of doing the opposite was being so honest, including even to people he knew he'd be targeting. To him, it was setting up a game board. To them, it was announcing his intentions so they could strike first. And that's exactly what happened. He planned to go after them next week, but they beat him to the punch because he or America, or a combination of both, telegraphed their move. As I said earlier, it's always difficult to figure out when one threat should go against another. But for all his strategy, Cory made it just a little too easy for Matt and Jag. And that is why Cory lost.
Well put as always, David.
Well, thank you.
All right. I think Ovi and David did a fucking. It was super interesting to listen to. I think they were right about just about everything. I think they overstated the impact of the double. I think they understated some twists. I think they, outside of that, I think they did a really good job. But those are small things. I saw someone said, like, I want to see America play without a showmance. For me, I want to see America play in a majority alliance. Like, if she could just get in the majority at the start, I think she'd be really good. Like, if Family Style just dominated the season, well, okay, that's not a great example, but, like, I think she'd be a really good person in a majority alliance. You know? Like, if she could just be like Annalise. Because she'd be, like, obviously way better, but, like, just in that kind of position, I think she could be really good. I think it's just, like, when she's the pariah at the start, she's not the type of player who's gonna, like, dig her way out of that, right? I think she's, like, kind of passive. She's not passive, but you guys know what I mean. Like, she's not, like, super running around the house like Izzy. Or me. Yeah, she did great. 6th place is incredible. Anyways, fun stream, a long one. I'm gonna go watch week 5 of the episodes of America. So that's exciting. That'll be posted probably tomorrow. Tomorrow during the day, so look forward to that. Thank you all for watching. No stream tomorrow, yes stream Thursday. Maybe a sponsor for it, who knows?